Paste it here.
Yo, what's going on?
All right, we're going over the Gus Johnson album. I have no idea what the fuck this is. Don't know who the fuck this guy is. Curious to hear what they say about him. Been watching this while playing Elden Ring.
Oh,
What's the matter?
I lost it all.
Gus Johnson is a YouTuber with 3 million subscribers.
How
He
loud
built his
am I on
following
this?
largely through making very silly sketch comedy videos where he would satirize movies, real-life friendships, pop culture figures, and really whatever he thought would make an entertaining video. Some of these skits have upwards of 10 million views, so he definitely did well for himself. But back a few years ago, he got into a controversy that lost him 300,000 subscribers, and lost
Jesus.
him a bunch of long-standing creator connections and personal friendships, and convinced a lot of the internet that he was a terrible person. I'm here today to tell you that never needed to happen. The allegations by his ex-girlfriend, Abelina Sabrina, never should have been made, and
Oh.
she screwed him over in a dishonest and spiteful move to get revenge. But before I go any
I need to know how many subscribers he had prior to 300 grand. Sounds like a shitload. 5 million. I don't know how much of a difference 300,000 gonna.
further, if you've heard about this drama at all, you probably know that it's years old. So the question naturally becomes, why am I talking about it? I don't really care that it's years old. It still happened. Gus still suffered a lot of negative consequences. It's still a very interesting story, and frankly, the people responsible for what happened to him never were fairly criticized on a large enough platform. So I'm here today to do that. All right, well, I think we've set ourselves up
I don't even
quite
know who the
well.
hell this
Let's
guy
dive
is.
in.
About to dive in as per.
All of this starts with Abelina Sabrina, Gus Johnson's ex-girlfriend. In October of 2022, she posted a video titled My Ectopic Pregnancy. For those who don't know, an ectopic pregnancy is when a fertilized egg begins growing outside of the uterus, usually occurring in one of the fallopian tubes. This is not how babies are supposed to be made and can result in life-threatening complications like internal bleeding. So Sabrina made this video where she did not name Gus, and she described her experience going through an ectopic pregnancy prior to the video's release. She describes how she had discussed with her partner before she got pregnant that they would not have a child if she got pregnant. Instead, they would go to Planned Parenthood and go Mossberg mode on that fetus.
I always
Oh
knew
shit, he
that-
made that? He made the fucking Alakablam? Oh. Fucking love Alakablam! Poor guy.
that I had to end it because I feel like when you start a relationship, you have the conversation of, "Hey, if you get pregnant, what's the plan?" And of course, it's so easy to say like, "Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm not ready to be a parent yet." No, not anytime soon. But God, it's so much scarier when it's happening to you in real life. So, that was really hard.
Despite them having that conversation ahead of time that they would not have a child if she got pregnant, once she was pregnant, she began second-guessing herself and thinking that maybe she should have the child. But she claimed that Gus was pressuring her to not have the kid, forcing her to get an abortion.
And I'm reiterating over and over. I mean, look at my appointments. This was always
Emergency department, urgent care visit. I'm up. Yeah, huh? Office visit with Allied Health. First visit. I don't know what these. She says, look at my visits. I'm looking, bro. I swear to God, wife, I'm looking at him. I don't know what it means. For you to accept. Oh, come on. Okay, emergency department, urgent care visit. Two office visits. hospital out. No, he's supposed to be. Two more hospital outpatient visits, another hospital visit from the second to the third. After spoke with the outpatient anesthesia event. And I'm not a doctor. I don't. It says look at my hospital. We have quite a few, but I don't know what normal or abnormal.
Is what I was going to do. I was constantly taking the steps to end the pregnancy. But it's really scary when somebody's forcing you to do it and then being pressured by your partner to do it. It felt like I didn't even have a choice. It really felt like I wasn't even allowed to consider what would happen if I didn't.
And this is one of the main contentions that she has with Gus, that he was forcing her to make the choice that he wanted rather than allowing her to have the choice over this child. Now, initially, when she went to plan,
They both agreed to it. She's trying to say like she was second guessing it, trying to get the. She was second guessing it. She wanted to keep the kid, even though they had agreed to get the kid. That's the case. I would be curious to what she means by pressuring. Like, watch that feel you kind of fucked up, but saying like, hey, he agreed, takes backsies. I feel like that's a lot different.
Planned Parenthood, they said they could not see anything that they could abort. So they said, hey, come back in a few weeks and then we'll do it. She went to regular doctor's appointments where they determined she was not showing signs of pregnancy. She went to more doctor's appointments, and every time she went, they were like, we don't really know what's going on here. We don't see, anything we can Mossberg once again. It seemed like something was wrong, but she didn't know what, and neither did Gus, and the doctors were saying, I don't know, probably nothing, come back later. At one point, she started experiencing serious abdominal pain. Her stomach began to swell, and the doctors told her to take Gas X because they're basically saying that she's gassy. Some major farting action is taking place, chat. She went to the hospital twice in one day, where they said she was likely miscarrying and told her to go bleed it out at home. So she tries to do that. It's not really working. She doesn't really know what's wrong. Gus doesn't know what's wrong. The doctors are like, oh, it's probably nothing super serious, right? Now, one day, she's at work, and she begins to feel particularly awful and in pain. She leaves work early and tells Gus Johnson, her boyfriend, that she's going to the hospital. He says he'll join her later because he needs to focus on work obligations.
And he said, okay, well, I have work to do, and it involves other people, and then we're gonna go out and get dinner and drinks with them. So I had to go to the hospital alone.
So she's at the hospital for 4 hours by herself in the waiting room. Finally, the doctors do a more thorough investigation into her regions, and they determine that there's something seriously wrong, but they're not quite sure what. Gus ends up showing up just in time for them to determine that there is an ectopic pregnancy going on, which, as I mentioned earlier, is very serious, and the doctors realized that she had been bleeding internally for days. Not only that, but according to her, the surgery itself may not work out and could result in death. I mean, it could have caused her to die. That's what that means. That's what result in death means, in case you didn't know. Wow.
It just really felt like my body, my choice never got to even apply to me. And that part really sucked.
So she immediately went into surgery, which was a success as she survived, and she's making a video here. But the physical and emotional effects of this continued to stay with her for weeks, months, a long period of time. She says that not that long before this video is released, when she was in the hospital for a different surgery, she had a panic attack because of the trauma that she suffered as a result of the entire experience with the ectopic pregnancy. Now, going back to the ectopic incident, she was released from surgery around 3 a.m., okay? They wheel her out of the hospital, she could barely even stand up, and Gus drives her back to his place from there. Now, something to note here is that she didn't want to tell any of her family about this because of the judgment or lack of support support she felt she may face from them.
Just in case it did go wrong, I called my mom and I lied and I said it was an ovarian cyst. It's not a big deal, but I just want to let you know what hospital I'm at. Don't come! Because I didn't want anybody to find out. I remember even before surgery too, once I found out what was about to happen, I called my sister and I'm like, oh hey, I'm at the hospital. And the first thing she says in the most judgmental voice is, what, you're pregnant? And I'm like, okay. Yeah, I'm not telling you anything.
And as I said, there are other complications that came from the pregnancy.
Jesus.
Postpartum depression hit her pretty hard, and according to her at the time boyfriend, Gus, was getting very fed up with her and was not being emotionally supportive at all. She felt that she couldn't sleep alone due to the mental anguish, so she was sleeping at Gus's place with his roommates there, which likely made them pretty uncomfortable, as she says. But she was going through a really hard time, and she needed him there. But according to Sabrina, Gus grew very resentful of these feelings that she had of the trauma she was experiencing, and apparently he wasn't the nicest. He wasn't very nice at all. She says he told her how hard it was for him to take care of her in those moments, and basically framed her as like, she's a burden I don't want to deal with. I just don't want to fucking deal with it, right? This is annoying to me. Which is obviously a very not nice thing to do to your girlfriend.
He still continued to live his life as if nothing ever happened. And there I am in the background in the shadows, just trying to pretend that I don't feel like I'm dying. It's really hard. And then he would, sometimes tell me things like, someone else would have left you by now, right?
I don't get what the point of this video is other than like sympathy baiting. Like, let's say all these things are true, every last one of them. If every one of these events was true, the point of sharing them on the internet is just a sympathy bait, and if everyone knows who your ex is, the point is to like just, even if they were in the wrong, even if they did fucked up stuff, the whole point, whether she would admit it or not, is to like destroy. Sometimes that's fair. Sometimes people annihilated from the platform, being like fucked up evil people. But so far, shared, just sounds like this person was a really shitty boyfriend. I'm not hearing any crimes. Rock starry. I'm not just hearing like my boyfriend was that didn't care about me while crying. I don't know. Couldn't be me. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to tell this broad, get over it. Kidding, that's a joke. Cancel me.
So the
And
lack of support
baby.
was really hard.
Now, all of this was definitely very hard for Sabrina to go through and potentially traumatic, and it's okay to feel bad for her. That's the natural human response. I mean, getting an abortion is hard enough in and of itself, and then finding out it's an ectopic pregnancy, and then on top of that, your partner is not truly there for you. They're immature, they're callous, they're being demeaning to you. They're saying things like, if you have the child, I'll break up with you, or I'll leave you, or stuff like that. Obviously, these are some very not nice things to hear from your partner, and Gus Johnson, in this case, was a complete fucking asshole, and you can't deny that. There's no excuse, I would say, for his behavior in that relationship, right? Gus was a very boyfriend. You cannot deny that. But that is where this ends, and that's where it should end. Him being a boyfriend doesn't constitute abuse. It just means he's a boyfriend. Now, Sabrina never used the word abuse.
You bit my
line,
take
so she didn't
again.
make an allegation at this point in time, but you'll see why that word is going
What's
to be very
up,
relevant pretty soon.
Jones
Now, frankly,
Pixel?
I don't
What's
think
up,
this
bro?
video needed to be made public. I would not
How you doing, brother?
made a public video talking about a traumatic experience like this because, I mean, the internet just doesn't need to know what I go through personally, but ultimately that's Sabrina's choice. But what you can criticize her for is talking about this story that involved Gus when seemingly he didn't agree to it being put out. Seemingly he wasn't cool with it being put out. I mean, at the time we had no idea what his wishes would be, but we have no confirmation here that Gus even wants it out. And obviously, given that Sabrina's a public figure, people are going to figure out who she's talking about. Now, I also take issue with something she said in the video itself, which is the idea that Gus forced her to get an abortion. Sabrina herself says that before she got knocked up, her and Gus had a conversation about what would happen if she did get pregnant. And in that conversation, they agreed that they would not have a child if she got pregnant. They would terminate the pregnancy. Once she actually actually was pregnant, she had second thoughts and was thinking about
Just
maybe
died to
having
a
the kid.
rat.
Now, this is a
But
perfectly natural.
I just died to a rat, but we just got the Radagon source seal, so now we're doing pretty good. We're going over the Gus Johnson allegations. I don't know what the fucking allegations are so far, other than like he was a shitty boyfriend. Seems to be all we've got right now. Damn, I forgot I only get one. I only get one slot, huh? I only get one spot. Can't even speak. I got one slot for talismans in the very beginning. Are you just Jones, or are you some other person that has stolen Jones's name? But are you just Jones? Are you just Jones from Kick, my Discord? Which Jones are you? Oh, you're a graphic designer. Oh, I see. You're a scammer. That's what you are. Okay, I see. I see now. I see it. Not interested. Not interested at all. Yeah. Why did you agree to being a scammer? I think that's the first time one of you has ever done that. No, you're not a graphic designer. You're a scammer. You're sitting at some little office space in the middle of nowhere, twitching. You're sitting at Twitch. Sitting at a computer, scrolling through Twitch, looking for poor people to fucking scam out all their money. I'm not your brother. Don't call me your brother. Your brothers and sisters are in a hovel somewhere, being paid by the fucking work you're doing right now. Which I hope they don't know how they get your money. I hope to God they don't know how you get your money. I do have a Discord, and it's full of wonderful people that aren't fucking scammers and that make their money doing honest labor. I think we got your mother on there too. You're not a scammer, and I'm the Pope. Those two things are simultaneous. Why don't you look at my balls, brother? Why don't I have a logo? Why don't you ask your mom? I'm gonna design a logo. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let my balls marinate in my shorts for like 3 months, and I'm gonna rub it on your mother's forehead, and then I'm gonna take a picture, and that'll be my. Thank God, finally.
Thought process to have, and I don't blame her for, thinking about this. But to blame Gus for being upset at her over this is pretty ridiculous. Even if you want to criticize his wording, where he said that he would leave her if she did have the child, which I think honestly, that wording is very cruel, and you can criticize him for that. But frankly, she's not willing to take responsibility here for the fact that she, initially said she wouldn't have a kid, and then she gets pregnant. Now she's like, well, I will have a kid, which is obviously a decision that would really impact Gus.
And I did have moments of weakness where I would cry and say things like, okay, but honestly, like, can we just consider, like, what if we didn't do it? Still gonna do it, but can we just consider what would happen if I...
Bro, imagine. Make the opacity. Oh God. make this somewhat. I want to make it to where this is here, but it's kind of like this is doing anything. I'm trying to get it where the video blends into the background. I thought that doing like opacity would change it, but why would I need a green? I don't want it to blend into the background of me, goofball. I want it to blend into the background of like the actual computer. Hmm. Hmm. It's like this does somewhat what I want it to. It's like way too. Oh God. Yeah, that's awful. That kind of works. What do you think, wife?
I didn't. And he would say like, no, it's not even a question. You're gonna ruin my life if you do that. That would be the worst thing to ever happen to me. As along the lines of things that he would say. And at one point, he even said that he would break up with me if I didn't do it, and that he would resent me and the potential child.
Obviously, if this is how Gus communicated this to her, then the wording is very mean, and he was putting some level of pressure on her. But imagine the pressure that he felt in that situation too. He dates a girl, and they agree that if she gets pregnant, they will press the big red eject button, okay? They're, once again, Mossberging. Now, when she's pregnant, she's apparently changing her mind. She might actually want to have the kid, and she's telling that to him. A decision that would not only affect her, but also affect him for the rest of his life. He would now be a father having to help take care of this child, one he did not want. He would be obligated to pay child support if he no longer wanted to be with her. These things can forever alter a person's life. It's a financial strain, it's a strain on his time, which once again is very valuable. Time is money after all. Especially because at this point in time, Gus was much younger, he was in his early 20s. And then think of the child and the child's well-being. Is this kid gonna have a great life if the father didn't even want to have him, and he was the result of an unplanned childbirth from two people that are ultimately too young and unfit to take care of him? And Sabrina at the time was comfortable with basically scaring Gus into thinking maybe she did want to have the kid. When, like I said, they agreed prior that they wouldn't fucking have a kid, and then she gets pregnant, she's like second guessing herself. She's like, oh, maybe I want to have it. And to be clear, that thought process is fine, but by that same token, it's okay for Gus to be like, we agreed we wouldn't have this kid. What's wrong with you? Even if his wording is bad.
And so at that point, it's like, well, if you're making threats like that, why should I consider you in this decision at all? And so I did start to think a little bit more. Should I actually end it? And it's true. That was me reneging.
Like, the thing is, they already made this decision. Then she wants to change her mind. This is totally unfair to Gus.
Not much,
Should
just
he have
watching
been
the
more
video.
supportive of her when she needed him to go to the hospital? Should he have, like, showed up probably immediately when she said, you know, I think something serious may be going on? Yes, undoubtedly. But as we know from Sabrina's video, she had already been going to the hospital repeatedly, where every time they determined there was nothing wrong with her. In hindsight, the doctors were almost gravely incorrect, considering that she had an ectopic pregnancy. But how could Gus have known that? Just because she emphasized that this was, like, the real time? Don't you think every other time she went?
Why am I hanging out? I don't know. Feel like hanging out. We're also just watching this drama video about Gus Johnson.
To the hospital, she said it was also the real time, probably. It's because she emphasized this time that it felt serious.
And I told him, something's wrong. I'm going to the hospital again. I don't feel well. Something is wrong. And he said, okay, well, I have work to do.
Now, you could interpret this as Gus just not taking it very seriously. Should he have? Maybe. But this is between two consenting adults. The internet, frankly, doesn't need to know, and we shouldn't even have this information from my perspective. And the same applies to the lack of emotional support to her after the fact from him. Should he have been way more there for her, given all of this? Obviously, he should have. Like, his behavior was downright, it's rather detestable. It's bad. He was a very
So what's
bad
up? Are you here to sell me something? Are you
But
here to
in
hang
my
out, or
opinion,
what's going
for her to
on?
hold this against him to this day for being a boyfriend in his early 20s is ridiculous. And the reason that I use the wording hold this against him is because Sabrina and a lot of the audience very much tried to do so. And the immediate response from a lot of people at the time this video came out was like, oh, well, she didn't even name Gus in the video. That argument is very, but we'll get to why in a moment. Now, I want to take a little detour here to note something important from this, okay? Which is that Sabrina's initial video, which is framed as her retelling of a very traumatic experience, which ultimately also caused Gus Johnson a lot of professional loss, it's sponsored. This video is sponsored. At the end of it, there's this weird tonal change where it just transitions to an advertisement for some app.
Video sponsored by Fabulous. Why do you need Fabulous? Fabulous is the #1 self-care app to help you build.
Yeah, you're here to sell something. You know, you can just, like, feel free to leave. Feel free to, like, get the hell out of here. I can suggest a lot of piers that you can, like, put cement shoes on for and just take a long walk. Long walk off some very short piers. What's weird is that, like, you can read you're on Twitch right now. You can read the previous chat of someone else that was trying. Do you think you're gonna have better luck because your account is named after a woman? I guarantee it. You're probably the same person. You're probably the same person logged in under another account. I don't know if you remember this, but I told you last time my logo was gonna be me letting my balls fester. Rub them on your mother's forehead, and then take a picture of that. That was going to be my new logo. I wonder, if you're a guy, do you feel like any shame or embarrassment typing out the word tee-hee like you're a fucking, like, a schoolgirl? Do you feel any shame for that? Does that work on anybody? Other people on this website so pathetic that they see the word tee and they legit think you're a woman?
Build better habits and achieve your goals.
And this is clearly a conflict of interest. Sabrina has now created a financial incentive for her to get this video, which talks about her personal trauma and frankly demonizes her ex-boyfriend to get the most amount of views possible. I mean, she's literally being sponsored to shit on her ex. If that isn't a red flag, I don't know what is. Speaking of red flags, do you remember how I said that Sabrina didn't name Gus in her initial video? Because the framing of that first video was like, this is my traumatic experience. She said she was making it because she wanted other women to be able to relate to her struggles within the healthcare system and, you know, the complicated abortion process and Roe v. Wade abortion rights, all that good stuff. Okay, all that stuff that, you know, the girls online like to talk about. Okay, that's what she said her motivation was, which is a fine motivation. That's totally fine. But there's a very big difference between what Sabrina said her motivation was and her actions, which, in my opinion, show what the true reason behind this video coming out is. Well, first of all, the relationship was very public, with them doing a lot of collaborative videos. It wasn't hard for the audience to put two and two together and figure out which ex-boyfriend she was talking about. But you can't criticize her for that. I mean, she hid his identity because she didn't want to cause reputational harm to him. Maybe some people will find out, but that's not her fault, right? She doesn't support that. She doesn't support them going after him. I mean, she didn't want to cause him any harm. That's why she liked to tweet encouraging people not to speculate too much on the situation and focus on her story rather than starting drama and taking away her agency in the situation. Good move, Sabrina. Love to see it. Well, she then used her agency to reply to someone on YouTube who said, I know you didn't mention your ex by name, but I think we can all figure it out. I canceled tickets we bought for his show next year. And Sabrina responded to this commenter thanking them for their support. She's thanking them for canceling a ticket to his tour, which is directly financial harm. She even liked a tweet that said in plain text that the video was about Gus. So at this point, she's undoubtedly identified her. Likes are public on Twitter. Anyone who watched the video can go to her Twitter and see that she likes that. And they're going to be like, hey, it's about Gus Johnson. But whatever. I mean, people are going to find out anyway, right? Who cares? What's the big deal? Well, she then liked a tweet that claimed that Gus Johnson abused her mentally, verbally, and emotionally, which is a word that she didn't even use in her original video, weirdly enough. Now,
Bro, if you add on to allegations, you're kind of a fucking... Go off of what's already available. Why are you speculating? If you're not going to do any investigative journalist, like, why do you even bother to pitch in? Like, oh, it's emotional and blah, 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 blah. Bro, shut the fuck up. The fucking moral busybody Karens. Hmm. Are there any communions I can get without? I've hit a roadblock. I guess I have to kill one dragon without a dragon seed. We're gonna kill one dragon without a seal.
Normally, I wouldn't read into Twitter likes too much. I mean, it's just a Twitter like, what's the harm, right? Well, when you make a video talking negatively about someone, a like on a tweet about them reads as a cosign of that messaging. Unless she explicitly says otherwise and her likes are actually for her to keep track of the tweet or because she made a blood oath with that person or she's sending them some kind of device in the mail, okay? Unless she explicitly says there's some other reason for her liking tweets, people assume that it's an endorsement. But she never said that, of course. She never said, oh, I don't actually like these tweets, right? She just was quiet. She was very tight-lipped. She then liked a tweet that claimed that Gus suppressed her from telling her family. But this isn't even a claim that Sabrina makes in her own video. She says that she chose not to tell her family because of the way that they would take it.
Just in case it did go wrong, I called my mom and I lied and I said it was an ovarian cyst. It's not a big deal, but I just want to let you know what hospital I'm at. Don't come! Because I don't want anybody to find out. I remember even before surgery too, once I found out what was about to happen, I called my sister and I'm like, oh hey, I'm at the hospital. And the first thing she says in the most judgmental voice is, what, you're pregnant? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not telling you anything.
So did Sabrina actually mean to say that Gus forced her not to tell anyone, but she just didn't say that in the video for some reason, where she talks about all of her qualms with him and how he was a piece of shit to her? Why is the story changing now? Well, it's probably because this just didn't happen, which is why she never claimed it in the video. It seems like she's okay with other people stretching the truth about this situation, even after she just claimed that she doesn't want people speculating. What she actually means is that she likes people speculating when it's in her favor. She even liked a tweet claiming that Eddie Burback is the good one out of Gus and Eddie Burback's little friendship YouTube partnership, but Gus is the evil one. I mean, this kind of thing can pressure Eddie to want to drop Gus due to negative public perception, which he did end up doing, but Eddie didn't do it just because of Sabrina. He has his own reasons.
Like, the podcast is not coming back.
And we'll get to that a little later. So the worst interpretation of Sabrina responding to that comment and Sabrina interacting with all these tweets is that she is post hoc spreading misinformation about Gus. The best interpretation, meaning the most charitable I can give to her, is that she's just okay with the misinformation being spread. The result of both is that 1, Gus looks worse than Sabrina even claimed he was in the video, and 2, people now know who Gus is, they know Sabrina is naming him, and they assume that Gus is an abuser, which Sabrina didn't even say in her video. Now, shortly after Sabrina's video came out, Gus posted an apology actually on his Twitter account, so let's read that. I'm aware of a recent video that calls out some actions that I'm not proud of, and I want to apologize. These circumstances were clearly hard and complicated for both of us, but I can't even begin to imagine how difficult it was for her. We were young and not remotely prepared to deal with the realities of a long-lasting traumatic medical situation. During the talks, counseling, and therapy we went through together following this time, I came to grips with my behavior and recognized my shortcomings, and I would like her to know just how deeply sorry I am. I fully realize what I did wrong and wish I could change how I responded and acted during that time. I've grown a great deal since that happened, and I wish I knew then what I know now. I will continue to grow and learn and strive to be a better person every day. And then he finishes by saying that he's stepping away from his podcast and he's canceling the rest of his live shows for that year. He's going to issue refunds. And then he says he's going to be taking time off from YouTube stuff. So here, Gus admitted to being a horrible boyfriend. He doesn't argue with her video. He apologizes to her and then voluntarily takes a financial hit in canceling his live shows and stepping away from his podcast, The Gus and Eddie Show, which was co-hosted by Eddie Burback. Did he need to do this? In my opinion, no, but his audience was pretty pissed off that they found out that Gus Johnson used to be a boyfriend, and maybe he actually felt bad for what he did, and he, wanted to show that to the audience, that he felt like he was a bad person at that time. But this was not enough for Sabrina. She posted saying that she would not accept a misleading apology with lies in it. She said she did not forgive him. Now, I'm not saying that she needs to forgive him. I mean, ultimately, this is between Gus and Sabrina, so it's kind of, who forgives who is up to them. But my big question here is, why would you even say this if you're going to be so vague about it? Like, is she implying that he was consistently to her after this? Was he, consistently abusive, maybe? I mean, she didn't use that word in her original video, but she's comfortable with other people using it to describe what she went through, so was he consistently abusive? Did he not change? She's saying his apology is insincere. Why is she saying that? Now, on Instagram, she also posted an image of a Pokemon card with the same exact statement from Twitter. Now, this may seem innocuous to you guys, right?
Not accepting any apology with lies in it. Very innocuous. Explain this to me. Like, retarded. I don't know what that means.
You may be like, a Pokemon card, why is that even there? When I saw this, I was like, what does this even mean? But basically, the reason she used this image is because of another claim. Remember how Sabrina said that she had another surgery during which she experienced some residual trauma from what happened before?
Yeah, for those of you who are wondering, in my nose video that I recently uploaded about when I talked about the traumatic OR experience that
Oh shit! I know
I
it's fucking
had.
kill me.
There it is. A month ago, for my nose, I was in a totally safe environment, safe OR. The PTSD. I just had a moment. I felt like I was back in that first Kaiser Permanente OR all over again, and I burst into tears and had a panic attack. And yeah, it's really affected me ever since.
Well, when Gus posted his apology to Twitter, a bunch of the replies were about her rhinoplasty, her nose job, claiming, how could you be opening packs from a children's card game when she's recovering from surgery and needs your support? And this is basically to show that he didn't change as a person. That's what Sabrina is implying with her Instagram story. But the nose job is an optional cosmetic surgery that she did not need. And also, like, opening Pokemon cards is part of his job on his live streams. I mean, comments on re-uploads of his Pokemon card opening, to this day, call him a bad person over this. Wow, what a great Pokemon stream. I'm sure this was the most vital time for Gus to stream. But once again, a nose job is an optional surgery. It's a cosmetic surgery. It's plastic surgery. Him opening Pokemon cards when you're getting a nose job or recovering from it is not evidence of him being abusive or even a bad boyfriend or evidence that he didn't change from the ectopic pregnancy. Like, he's doing his job. And furthermore, how am I supposed to believe that she's so emotionally broken from this particular incident and he behaved so horribly when, at the time, she made multiple videos about it, and even one day after it happened, she made a Q&A live stream, which is her work. So, like, when she's recovering, she can get work done, but he can't? I don't really understand what's going on here. Like, what is this discrepancy, Sabrina? Now, she would go on to complain about people speculating about her content and what it's about, but, like, you made these allegations public. Like, you know people are going to speculate, right?
Every step of the way, I was being second-guessed by medical staff, by my partner.
How can you complain about speculation when you make a video about your ex-partner, who is a public figure? You're then liking a bunch of tweets that spread misinformation about him. You're thanking people for no longer financially supporting him. And on top of that, when he apologizes, you make a very vague statement like, I'm not accepting a misleading apology with lies. What lie? Like, what actual lie? The only lie that she kind of implies is the case is regarding her nose job, and that's where she also liked to tweet claiming that men cannot comment on the situation because this is a systemic issue for women. Yeah, I mean, if you want to say that the healthcare system is the issue and that's systemic, then, like, go ahead, I guess. I still think men can comment on that, but, you know, whatever. But Gus's actions are not systemic. It's Gus and Sabrina. We're talking about Gus Johnson. This is stupid. And in my opinion, this kind of tweet is just to discredit anyone who questions Sabrina's narrative. How could you even question this? Well, she's leaving a lot of room for interpretation, and she's behaving weirdly. She claims the video is, like, to tell her story about her ectopic pregnancy and, like, help women. And then on the other hand, she's, like, acting in such a way to get revenge on Gus Johnson. It's kind of strange. Meanwhile, on a bunch of subreddits, the fans were dropping Gus like a 7-year-old heavily used fleshlight. This woman is missing most of her reproductive system and almost died, while her boyfriend minimized her pain and put his work and friendships over her during recovery. It baffles me how many people under that tweet are putting any sort of blame on her. Jesus fucking Christ. And they're not the only ones. Eddie Burback, who had a podcast with Gus and had done as many as 31 collaborations with him, I mean, Gus really helped out his channel, he ended up making a statement that he'd like to do future work with his brother for now, implying that the Gus bridge was burned. He also unequivocally supported Sabrina's video and what she had to say. Now, I don't blame Eddie Burback for this. It's ultimately his prerogative what happens with him and Gus. It's whatever. Like, I can't make them be friends, right? So that's his decision. And he didn't even publicly talk Gus, so whatever. But the amount of misinformation being spread during this time, which Sabrina let slide, first of all, or signal boosted, is ridiculous. Over on Reddit, someone was claiming to be Sabrina's friend and came out with even more accusations, which then spread across the internet like wildfire.
There's a thread allegedly written by one of Sabrina's friends. And gotta say, not only is it the funniest thing, but it's the reason I have a problem with fueling speculation. There's an accusation of Gus being verbally abusive consistently throughout their relationship. And apparently, there was a whole list of accusations that was deleted within 4 hours. Because I saw this post within 4
I want to see that list. I want to see that fucking list of allegations. Oh my god. Dragon is doing the absolute. Bro, what the fuck? Ag heel, homie. Trying to listen to Gus Johnson be vindicated, Ricky Tom, and you are fucking it all up, bro. No! Oh! Holy fucking shit, that was close. There we go. Alright. Dragonheart.
4 hours of it being published. And apparently she's Sabrina's friend, and there's like 20 accounts being like, oh bro, trust me bro, she's real, and Gus is abusive, and she proved it. But no bro, no, I can't show you, but Sabrina totally knows about this, and trust me, Gus is trash, abusive. When things like this happen, and fact versus fiction is being so blurred by you, it takes away your credibility and makes people question the merits of your story as a whole. It also perpetuates people having their careers ruined based on baseless claims and accusations, just like a post like this does. This hurts accountability in the long term because it makes people more skeptical of the motives of the person enabling this. In this case, Sabrina.
So let's do a little recap of what we have so far just to remember it all, okay? So you're taking notes, class. Sabrina makes a video detailing her traumatic experience, claiming the video to be about her personal trauma and the healthcare system more than anything else. This video also makes accusations against...
I don't think so. I legitimately think the whole point of the video was to shit on Gus. Just from what she was saying about how... I probably would need to go back and watch the whole video since Turkey Tom is only showing like relevant clips to the video, which is Gus Johnson allegations 2 years later. I think that just from what he's shown us, I don't know. To me, it seems like the video is purposeful to attack Gus. Maybe we'll watch it after this.
Against Gus Johnson of him being a bad partner and not giving her the right to my body, my choice, despite the fact that prior to her pregnancy, they had agreed to terminate any fetusoid that she got loaded up with. She criticizes him rightfully for being demeaning and mean and I would say being a very, very bad, unsupportive boyfriend during this time, which he can totally be criticized for. But she also blames him for being mad at her for wanting to change her mind and actually have the child, which is dumb. This video is also sponsored, of course.
This video is sponsored by Fabulous.
But keep in mind, the point is not to have any negative effect on Gus. That's not the point here, guys, okay? She didn't even name him. Well, she then goes on to confirm speculation that the boyfriend is Gus. She thanks people who refund tickets to his shows. She hits the like button on baseless misinformation about him on Twitter, including accusations that she didn't even make, where people call it abuse, and claims something that she didn't even say in her video, that he silenced her from telling anyone about this. She says his apology is full of lies without elaborating, and the only evidence she has, the only implication she makes about him not changing or still being a liar or something like that is that he wasn't there for her when she was recovering from a nose job years later. And the final step in this is that Eddie Burback, Gus's close collaborator, drops him as a result of these allegations. Now, whether it was her intention from the beginning or not, Sabrina is now cheering on her ex-boyfriend's career being torn to shreds because he was not a good boyfriend to her. It's clear that she is comfortable with revenge at the very least, and her motives become even clearer as time goes on. I put fires in the title card in quotations because despite what Sabrina was doing, which is trying to really affect Gus's career, he showed her a lot of mercy throughout this whole ordeal. He finally responded in January of 2022, 3 months later, titled Talking About the Last Few Months, and in it, he says he's sorry for how he acted towards her.
As the medical situation continued to last for many months with no end in sight, there were just times that I just said some stupid stuff and some things that just caused my partner additional hurt. And I think that I said these things to inflate my own sense of righteousness because I felt so drained from the situation and I was so afraid of what was to come and there didn't seem like there was any end in sight. And I think I'd gotten to the point where I had convinced myself that I was doing everything that I could do and that I was saying everything that I should say. And I thought that I was doing everything right. And it became frustrating and I felt so defeated, and it took me a while to realize that I was actively making the situation worse and adding additional hurt, and that's realization has just left me feeling so foolish and ashamed.
He seemingly realizes how poorly he treated her. He then adds that they dated for years after it happened, had many discussions about the ectopic pregnancy, they sought couples therapy and individual therapy where this was talked about, and how that made him come to terms with how he acted towards her, meaning his cruel words and lack of emotional support. He didn't argue with Sabrina's video, he didn't criticize her at all, he just said, hey, I was very mean to her and I'm really sorry for that.
And I'm really glad that she feels comfortable sharing this story as part of her healing journey, and I hope she keeps doing it. I just feel so foolish for the shortcomings that I brought forth during this time, and I just feel incredibly regretful for just the dumb stuff that I said.
Pretty nice response for someone who borderline slandered him. I gotta say, he really was taking it on the chin with this one. He apologized to Sabrina, he apologized to his audience for being a person, and noted how his behavior affected his business relationships, saying he's sorry to those who felt betrayed by him. In return, Sabrina tweeted out saying she had never been to couples therapy in her life, directly contradicting Gus's video and calling him a liar.
We sought couples therapy together and individual therapy, and this was discussed at length.
So either Gus is lying or Sabrina is lying. Gus, at long last, decides to post something that directly calls into question Sabrina's honesty. He claims that they did have hours of couples coaching sessions and even shows literal payment receipts for it. He also claims that she chose the specialist that they saw. Sabrina then responds by saying, unlicensed TikTok coaches are not therapists. These sessions were not regarding my pregnancy or PTSD at all, but mainly centered around Gus's desire to other people and have me be okay with it. Now this could be true, but Sabrina says they never got couples therapy. I mean, couples coaching is a different thing, but she obviously must have known what Gus was talking about when he brought this up. Like, this is a very semantic debate over something that he clearly was trying to tell the truth on, from what I can tell. As for what was being discussed in those sessions, maybe Sabrina's telling the truth, maybe she's not. We really have no way of knowing unless one of them reconciles this point at this point.
They got me.
But like, did this even need to be made public? That you talked about that in therapy? I feel like that's kind of a shitty thing to out. Private therapy sessions where apparently he wanted to fuck other people. Like, first of all, obviously that's not a cool thing for him to want to do, but like, did that need to be made public at all? Was that right? And as I said, she never refutes in her response that she did choose the specialist. Maybe she forgot to do that. Additionally, spilling this random detail about him wanting to bang other people, if true, like I said, is just completely unnecessary. Keep in mind, she later deleted her second tweet about this. I wonder why. So she then starts being criticized for being misleading and clearly for her intentions being revenge to hurt Gus's career. So she posted a final response and it got 14,000 likes. She opens by saying, hey everyone, I'd like to address the situation with Gus for the hopefully final time. She's complaining here about the fact that she has to talk about it again, but like, you brought this all up in the first place, you made the video public. I see it as pretty dumb to complain about people talking about it or Gus responding at all. Especially when he was very, very nice to you in his response and didn't even like criticize you at all. He was more than fair. When I uploaded my video last October, my intention was to share my story as a part of my own healing and hopefully be better understood by everyone. I didn't name Gus in the video and I didn't intend things to evolve the way they have. My goal wasn't to vilify my ex, but to share a very real struggle of mine that at the time felt invisible.
Maybe like at the time she was telling the truth about that. Maybe at the time she really thought that like, oh, I'm just trying to get it out there, trying to get my out there. Why are you trying to get trying to validate this anger that you have? You're trying to validate this idea that you truly weren't wronged by this person. You're trying to validate that with all the internet. Plus you wouldn't have shared it. To me, I don't really care what she says. And we pretty much have seen what she's done. I don't know. To me, I think the intent from the jump was to have people agree that Gus is a shit person.
This is completely retarded and a straight up lie. If you didn't intend for it to evolve the way it did, why did you like all those tweets confirming Gus's identity? Why did you respond to a comment thanking someone for refunding their ticket to his tour and not being a fan of him anymore? Why did you continue to post about it after the fact, literally vilifying his apology and saying, I don't trust it. Okay, he's got lies in there. What lies? Who knows? Like, maybe if the initial sponsored video was the only thing here, I would say, whatever, you know, she told her story. She didn't need to do that. I don't think she should have done that, but like, It's her choice to tell the story,
True.
I guess, okay? But you can't say that you didn't intend for it to evolve this way if you literally identified him within hours of the video's release, supported baseless claims about him, and turned it into Twitter drama. Sabrina is either lying here, or she is the dumbest person to ever walk this earth, and frankly, I don't trust her on her own intentions. Since then, there have been public statements with no attempts to reach out to me privately. Oh, you mean like you reached out to Gus Johnson privately? Did you do that before you made your video? I don't think so. I doubt it. Why is he obligated to reach out to you privately when you didn't reach out to him privately before, during, or after you made the public statement that cost him 300,000 subscribers over private relationship drama? You made this public in the first place. Every time Gus or myself addresses the situation, it leaves a pit in my
totally
stomach.
wrong
Poor
area.
Sabrina, hold on. Let me get you a tissue real quick, okay? There you go. Okay. Blow your nose right into it so I can eat it. I'll also get you a binky and a diaper so you can be a baby just like me. Therapy has helped, but navigating the situation is difficult and stressful nonetheless. The apology message of recent video are not sufficient and don't accurately reflect my experience, but I personally need to accept that true accountability may never come. Wow. So the best move to get a real apology was to publicize the entire situation to your fans and Gus's fans?
I don't think it can. Here, play it. No, the mic can't hear it. What's new about it? Right now I'm getting my ass kicked by people with multiple ass raping me. Who cares about if it feels like a rape? Man, fuck that. Man, fuck that. Whoa! Bitch almost killed me. Yeah, well, you know what, love? You're a goop. Oh, shit. Oh! Oh! Damn it! We're gonna get him this. We're gonna get him this time, damn it.
Is that how you get an apology in your world? Is that normal? Like, I would understand her making this public if he had, like, her, or if he had sexually assaulted her, if there was like a child grooming thing, because when that happens, like, there's the potential for more victims that need to be, you know, prevented, right? Like, the public needs to know because they have an interest in preventing that from happening again, and that's fair. But in this situation, that didn't happen. Like, he was a boyfriend to you. I mean, what does she even expect from this? Like, on one hand, she says, I didn't intend for it to evolve the way it did. I didn't want Gus to be vilified. And then you're also like, his apologies are not enough. Okay, what are people supposed to take away from that? I mean, Gus was very nice to her in her response, and she's still coming after him. This is basically pushing a wheelchair kid down the stairs.
Oh, shit! Did you just break up with me? Wait, no!
Thus far, my instinct is to
what
correct the
the
record,
fuck?
and it hurts to see him giving a, in my view, false impression of events. But unfortunately, this hasn't brought me the peace I'm looking for. With that, I won't be engaging any further on this topic. It's not healthy, and I hope you can all respect that. No, I actually don't respect that at all, because you have not respected your own fake intentions and boundaries. You contradicted yourself with your intentions, and now I want an explanation, and the public did at the time, which she did not provide. And notice how she posted this as soon as the tide started turning. People were questioning her intentions. Thankfully, there are some people in the replies that can see through her bullshit, but a lot of her supporters that are arguing with people who are just questioning things a little bit are using some of the most downright retarded shit I've seen since I found out that I have Down syndrome. How was she supposed to make it sound any better? In the actual video, she said that she wanted him to be able to move on with his life. She didn't vilify him. He's the one who made the bad choices. Wow. And she definitely let him move on by doing this and doing this. I mean, she was definitely letting him move on when she thanked someone for canceling their plans to go to his show, the same person who called him a trash man and is saying that they could never support him. She did such a great job with that. This response post that she made is close to the most disingenuous thing she's done so far, but it wouldn't be the last. A day after this statement was made, there was this post from the Gus Johnson subreddit from the same time period that got a few hundred upvotes, and you can see people starting to question what's going on here. It's very clear she intended to have Gus Johnson going public with all of this. Now she's splitting hairs saying he lied about going to couples therapy. It's counseling. I've never been to therapy. Are you absolutely kidding me? Like, all right, got it. Gus was a partner and has done and said shitty things previously. So that means you go for blood? An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. And at this point, it's pathetic and has zero to do with us. If they have any amount of dignity left, they would just move on from this and never mention it again. Keep in mind, everyone initially supported Sabrina pretty much ubiquitously, right? But now they were finally realizing how callous and dishonest her actions were. Her words say one thing. Her actions speak to another. I mean, keep in mind, the second that he responded to her and caught her in a lie, she deleted her second tweet, and then suddenly she wants it to end. This is clearly a lie, as I've shown like 5 different times.
I'm not looking to cancel anybody. So with that being said, if you enjoy Gus's content, by all means, keep watching it.
If you want his career to be affected, just say that. Why the constant obfuscation? We can all tell what you wanted. Now, even with what we have so far, we can definitively say that Sabrina had malicious intentions. She was not honest with her original video, and she's basically trying to ruin Gus's career over something that never needed to come out in the first place. But things died down for a little bit with the situation. They kind of went their separate ways. But a few months after this, Pay Money Wubby enters the picture.
I don't laugh at farts anymore.
Oh, this fucking guy.
He's a pretty big Twitch streamer who averages 12,000 viewers live. He's got 1 million subs on YouTube, and he was the first bigger channel to actually question the allegations in a serious way.
Elon Musk? Well, he's African American. He's not, I wouldn't say he's black.
Okay, Wubby. Explain this right here. Now, prior to the stream I'm about to go really deep into, Wubby had made a comment claiming that the Gus Johnson situation was not that big of a deal and didn't need to be made public. He was then responded to by a TikTok commentary channel who claimed he was defending and apologizing for abuse. The TikToker opens by asserting that Gus abused his girlfriend.
Breaking news! Abusing your girlfriend!
Bro, I fucking love Wubby. My favorite clips of Wubby are when he's in church and he's a pastor. Hey, Ed. Yes, pretty please, with the cherry on top. Absolutely. I told them my new logo was going to be my balls marinated and rubbed on their fucking mother's face, and here they never replied. One of them took Jones's name. That fucking irritated. Yeah, fuck those guys. Yeah. Been doing alright. Thinking about doing an Elden Ring run. Or what Elden Ring run I wanted to do for a hot minute. Right now we're trying to get the communion seal, but I'm getting my ass kicked by the night. Ow. Ah, bro, what the fuck? Son of a bitch. Your sister is teach me. Oh, Jesus. It's gonna end up being on a shirt, isn't it? If we ever get big enough to make shirts, I want that on a shirt. But your sister is teach me. I'm gonna get this fucking seal if it kills me. Probably will. A few more times. Let's just swap out my seal. I no longer use my... Yeah, I can use my... What is this? Bro, that guy was killer. I don't know if I'm gonna be streaming for like 6 hours. I might stream until like 4 over here. Hours. We'll see how well this run goes. Um, 7 hours ahead, so like 11 p.m. your time, I think. Son of a bitch. Ow. Son of a bitch. I thought the chariot would come back and fucking kill him.
Is bad. That may come off as common sense to everybody here, but there's a lot of people that just want to brush it under the rug.
Wubby then responds to this, as well as the idea that Gus medically neglected her.
I feel really bad for her, but I rewatched the whole thing and I'm completely at a loss of words for why anyone in their right mind who understands the situation.
We're watching Turkey Tom cover the Gus Johnson allegations. This guy pretty much was a piece of shit to his girlfriend, but his girlfriend spun it into like he was this emotionally abusive psychopath that was gonna let her die alone in a hospital room. And then pretended like she didn't do it to destroy his reputation when she like totally did. This is like 2 years after the fact, but Turkey Tom's like going over it again because he feels like the guy involved got fucked over really hard for like no reason. So far, based on what he's shown, my personal opinion, I think the dude was kind of a douchebag as a boyfriend. Do I think he deserved to get canceled? I don't. Depends on the audience he cultivated. If he cultivated an audience that thought he was like this saint that was super nice to his girlfriend and like did nothing wrong and all that shit, well then yeah, he probably did deserve to get canceled. If they literally knew nothing about his personal life, if they knew literally nothing about his personal life, then I don't think it's fucking hot in here, Ed. That's why. It's fucking hot in this room. And I do not want to fucking wear that hoodie again right now. Shit, he blocked it. Oh, I killed us both. Does that count? Oh my god, did that count? Give me the seal. Fuck. No, it's the same mask. It's just the lighting is different. Oh god, please tell me that killed him. Wait, is the seal even on him, or is it just... Oh, fuck, I probably should have looked that up. Hold on. I just need to grab it from that corpse. Take a look. Is once killed. He died. Killed him. Did we get it? Damn it. Guess we have to kill him. Oh, man. Son of a bitch. I'm debating on whether or not I want to... Okay, for fuck's sake. I think I'm going to go farm a little bit and then come back here. This guy kicking my ass isn't... Let me go right now. Soldier of God. You know if we're going to be able to get a whole lot. This fucking guy. We're doing Dragon Communion only runs, sir, okay? We're not using no fucking noble sword. Get cucked.
Would ever say that Gus medically neglected her. I feel like that's a term you would use for like someone who either cannot take care of themselves or if you're a doctor, right? Like if I needed to, if I was assigned by a medical professional to like give someone who couldn't take medicine and I chose not to, that's medical neglect.
We don't acknowledge
Gus
LeBron
got
James in this
accused of
household.
not caring because the doctors didn't care. Very important note I'm going to get into here that a lot of people seem to forget. I think the story is so bastardized and stolen from the truth. People forget Gus Johnson didn't take Sabrina's condition seriously because the doctors didn't.
Wubby maintains that he feels bad for Sabrina, but also says that the narrative got very out of control and accusations were made that don't fall in line with the truth at all. She then asserts that Gus's comeback video, a skit he made, was designed to mock Sabrina because it was about someone exaggerating their injuries. This video, for context, is basically about that
What
kid in
league?
school
What
always
league are
claims
we
to be
talking about
injured in
here?
Gym class or whatever. I'm sure a lot of you guys know who this kind of kid is.
Oh, Mr. Thompson, I need an ice pack. Yeah, it's a bad one. It's a bad one. Thank you. Oh, I really needed that, yeah. Ah, crap, this is gonna frick up my after-school football for at least a month. Ow.
When this came out, a lot of people assumed it was directly related to Sabrina and secretly mocking her, but there's no evidence of that, and considering that Gus's approach to the situation was pretty consistent for the entire controversy in apologizing, at least up until this point, I think this is pretty ridiculous.
He was making fun of that like autistic
Damn it,
kid
only
at
400?
school when like you fall. We all know that kid. I saw that video. I think this is a perception argument. I think that
NBA
you can
LeBron
argue,
James will play with
maybe
his
don't put that
son
out then,
when the
but
league
when
starts
I originally saw that
going.
video, I didn't even associate that with the Sabrina
Bronny?
issue.
Oh,
I didn't even.
Bronny James is a totally different human being? I thought that was a nickname for LeBron James. Oh, shit. Oh my god, these little guys hit hard. Little bastard. We might have needed to grab a spell with a quicker chart or quicker casting time. Why would they let the son of one of their players join? Is he any good? Or, like, is he literally just joining because his dad is LeBron James?
associate those two things at all. The way she's wording it makes it seem like he directly made fun of Sabrina. I associated it with like the autistic kid in gym, which what the video was making fun of. I'm gonna leave that up to interpretation. Just for the sake of continuing this argument, let's give that to her. Okay, all right, so he made fun of the situation. He made fun. Okay, fine. Now what? Where do we go from here?
Next, this TikToker claims that in Gus's apology, he doesn't talk about a single thing that he did to Sabrina. But that's just not even true. And if you watch the video, you would know that. In the video, Gus specifically says the following in order. He says that during that time, he did not understand the pain she was going through, and as a result, he was not emotionally supportive to her. He admits to being very mean to her and causing her additional emotional distress. He says he was frustrated with her and did not realize the pain he had caused her and made the situation much worse until later. This is everything that Sabrina basically said. I guess you can criticize him for not being as specific as she was, but it's not like he can hide that. It's all in Sabrina's video, which got way more views than his response, by the way. And he even supported her making it and said that he hopes she continues to be able to tell her story.
And I'm really glad that she feels
Hello,
comfortable sharing
Marius.
this
What's
story
up, bro?
as part of her healing journey, and I hope she keeps doing it.
Maybe this would be a salient point if Gustav, his real name, by the way, is Gustav. How embarrassing. Literally a Germanic name. Cringe. But maybe it would be a good point if he had like hidden her video somehow, however he could do that. If he had said, oh, none of that happened, I didn't do anything wrong, then maybe that would have been a decent point you could call him out on, because then he's like directly contradicting her. But he didn't even do that. Now this next point is so awesome and illustrates like one of the greater criticisms around everybody who covered this story. When Sabrina said she'd never been to couples therapy, this TikToker saw that and was just like, yep, Gus is lying, you're right.
Sabrina went to Twitter and said, never been to couples therapy a day in my life.
Yeah, so basically Brony is the 558th draft. I don't know how that works. Draft pick for the Lakers, and people weren't really... Oh, fuck. This little guy's gonna kill me. Weren't really able to join the league because of his name. Oh, wait, we got stuff. I have to actually turn and read this. Join the league because his name, so he's not good, but he's showing a lot of progress in the summer league games. But I think it's pretty cool, despite the fact that he might not be ready for the league yet. There's history. End of the day, LeBron is a GOAT. Nah, bro, fuck LeBron. His son's probably just as anti-American as he is. Ah, shit. Damn it.
Which is really all I needed to hear.
And this is not a responsible way to cover allegations at all for this TikToker. They have a clear bias to believe Sabrina and not believe Gus, no matter what the evidence says. I'm not saying you should necessarily believe either without evidence. I'm not saying you should necessarily just believe Gus just because he says something. But blindly believing one side is very, very bad faith.
I don't know who to believe. That's why this shouldn't be public. This sounds really personal. You guys should probably deal with that privately. We don't need to get into a Twitter back and forth on if you went to therapy or not. Sounds like something you guys should be dealing with. But the real thing to note here, and I don't know how she has an audience when she says stupid like this.
Never been to couples therapy a day in my life. Which is really all I needed to hear. Gus.
Why is that all you needed to hear? Why are you inherently believing one person over the other? I'm not even saying Gus is right. They went to therapy. I'm saying, wow, this sounds really complicated and nuanced.
When this TikToker sees Gus's response receipts, which are literal money receipts and evidence of payment, the TikToker acts like it means nothing.
So then Gus replies with receipts.
Then tries to defend himself by attaching receipts to something and saying Sabrina is lying.
Okay, well, again, she's misrepresenting. Gus put what he claims to be receipts of their therapy. It's not something. He didn't post a fucking CVS receipt for God knows what. He posted receipts for what he is claiming was their therapy. Again, I want it to be very important here. Note that I'm not saying he is right or she is right. I'm saying, wow, that looks really gross. Maybe this shouldn't be done on public Twitter.
And once again, when they see Sabrina's response saying it was a TikTok dating coach, they just laugh about it and then read the claim that Gus wanted to sleep with other people.
Is Marius still there? I'm not sure.
Criticizing Sabrina for the fact that
I'm not sure. Marius, are you still there? Forehead itches.
He outed this against Gus's will, if it's even true.
Whoa! He he never responded
Bro, based Wubby.
to that. But last night was his
Oh,
comeback.
Gus never responded to that? Yeah, I wouldn't respond to that either. She's throwing up straw man after straw man argument to try to ignore everything he's saying, and it's becoming a he said, she said. So in my opinion, Gus bowed out at the right time. Hey, here's proof I went to therapy. No, we didn't, and we didn't talk about it in therapy. What's Gus to say there? You're wrong, but the internet disagrees with me, so... like, what is he to say? What do you mean? Come on, dude.
Stream on Twitch. And this is really
Also, revealing what you spoke about in therapy has got to be one of the most BM things I've ever heard of my entire life. That is a sacred space, so to sit there and be like, actually, in therapy, we talked about this very personal thing that was between us and a therapist. Are you out of your fucking mind? What kind of crazy is that? I'm sorry, but there's no winning here for Sabrina on these Twitter battles, because if she's right, she's crazy for releasing therapeutic conversations, okay? If she's right. If she's wrong, she's lying about what was said in therapy. How can she win here? What are you arguing? So weak. Keep the... you know what? I wouldn't have even... if I was this lady and I was like, Sabrina's right.
You know, it's funny. We can probably go find that out. DD Foul Got Banned? What the fuck kind of name is that? Oh, let me get to a safe spot where I won't get fucking jumped and annihilated. Okay, take a look. Let's take a little look-see. Let's take a little looky-loo here. TikTok. ED Foul Got. No, literally what I looked up. Okay, fuck you then. Let's go to TikTok. I like watching all of my TikTok. DD Foul. I'm not spelling this right. Foul God. Where are they? I'm not spelling this right. I have the wrong. At DD FALTGOTBANNE. I don't even think this person exists anymore.
Gus is evil. I would have left...
DD Foul. Oh, nice. They don't even exist anymore, so I can't even check. Oh well. Fuck them. They're spreading misinformation. Glad they're gone. Bye.
left the Twitter out of it because it makes her look unhinged, immature, stupid. It's crazy.
So Default got banned, which is their username over here, then calls out Pay Money Wubby, saying that his take is wrong because Sabrina was, and I quote, abused. And Wubby says, where is that abuse?
So not too long ago, Pay Money Wubby caught light of this situation and wanted to talk about it. He had a very neutral
See you soon,
stance
bro.
on it, saying that
See you on the
relationship
flip
drama shouldn't be
side.
aired
I'll be
publicly,
streaming for a lot
which is
longer
something
tomorrow.
that I wholeheartedly agree with.
Maybe.
If the person's not being abused.
Okay, so very interesting point. And to an extent, I agree.
No.
What abuse?
Why is there so much
I
rot
need
here?
her to get on a call
Oh
with
my
me
God.
and in detail explain
Holy
what the
shit,
abuse
what
was
the
that
fuck is
deserved
happening?
To be aired out to the degree
Ugh.
it has. You can't say it should have been talked about, but my man's life, career, everything he has been taken from him and ruined. Okay.
Wubby then has conversations with a few of his
I didn't want
chatters
that.
where he talks about the allegations Sabrina made
Shit.
and makes the case once
Shit.
again that Gus was not emotionally abusive. Now he continues to have conversations with his chatters about this. He has a few random people from his chat on to like debate the situation, right? And that's all well and good. But in the last hour of the stream, something really unexpected happens. Gus himself calls into the stream to talk about his side of events. Now keep in mind here, before we get into this, just because Gus says something does not mean it's true. But we're going to use this stream as a starting point to contrast his side with Sabrina's and go from there. Gus opens by saying that what Sabrina went through with the ectopic pregnancy was painful and real, and he says that he doesn't want to minimize any of the trauma she went through from that. He also says he doesn't want to send her any hatred. Now obviously by being here and potentially contradicting her story, that may happen to some level, but considering that she made a video with 1 million views calling him a piece of shit and did everything in her power to make sure people knew who it was after the fact, while still absolving herself of responsibility because she didn't name him, I think he has a right to come on at someone else's Twitch stream to talk about his side of events. And Gus then gets into the relationship timeline. According to Gus, they began dating when he was 22 and still in college. At the time, they were long distance with them living in 2 different cities. They then moved to Los Angeles in fall of the same year, and that same fall, she got pregnant.
You know, it had been about 2 or 3 months, and she got pregnant that fall. She and I had talked a number of times about
Don't have
what would happen
unprotected sex.
if she did become pregnant, and we had both agreed that since we were really young and didn't really have a lot of our personal life footing in order yet, neither of us really had any money when we moved out here. We both agreed that it was not, we couldn't give a good life to a child at that time. So we had agreed that, you know, if a pregnancy did occur, that we would seek termination.
This is something that Sabrina also acknowledges in her video.
Because I feel like when you start a relationship, you have the conversation of, hey, if you get pregnant, what's the plan? And of course, it's so easy to say like, oh yeah, absolutely, I'm not ready to be a parent yet. No, not anytime soon. But God, it's so much scarier when it's happening to you in real life. So that was really hard.
But of course, she added the caveat that feelings around the situation can change when you're actually pregnant, which he seems to understand.
The thing is, I completely understand too, like you can prepare all that you want for a situation like that, and nothing really holds full merit until you're in it. You know, you can prepare all you want, but I understand that preparations go out the window to some extent when the thing actually does happen. She found out that she was pregnant, and it terrified both of us.
Next, Gus says that they began going to doctor's visits and Planned Parenthood to figure out how to deal with the situation, at which point Sabrina began to express that maybe she wanted to have the kid anyway.
It really worried me right away that Sabrina began to express a change of her mind in regards to what we would do with the kid. And, you know, she was kind of in between jobs and stuff at the time, and she just kind of fully changed her mind on that. And I didn't deal with that in a very mature way. I was really fearful, and I just told her I wasn't ready for this. I feared that it would create a big problem for us in the relationship, and I just expressed that with her at the time.
This is echoed in Sabrina's statement as well, and it's something I criticized her for. I mean, I understand her thinking about wanting to maybe have the kid, and there's a lot of hormones going on, and, you know, she's thinking about the various possibilities that could happen, and she's like, oh, maybe it won't be that bad. But the bottom line is that she agreed beforehand to not have the kid, and now she's thinking about changing her mind, which is obviously going to scare Gus, because that decision would dramatically affect his life.
And then being pressured by your partner to do it. It felt like I didn't even have a choice. It really felt like I wasn't even allowed to consider what would happen if I didn't.
Now we get to the night of the ectopic pregnancy surgery. Gus agrees here that he had chosen work over the first few hours of the hospital visit. He says he had made an obligation to film a podcast episode with Eddie that evening with a guest, and he says he also felt the pressure to deliver to his new crowdfunded show and deliver on his promise to record and get that podcast out. But he doesn't use this as an excuse. In fact, he just uses it as like an explanation. He acknowledges here that it's his own fault for prioritizing that work over being with Sabrina at the hospital.
This is me taking full responsibility for that decision. It's not Eddie or anybody else, you know, that caused that. I just chose to stick behind and honor that obligation. She told me that she was going to the hospital.
Now at the time, neither of them knew how serious this particular visit would be, and that's something that's consistent throughout Gus's retelling and Sabrina's. Wubby then pushes back on the online narrative that Gus was nearly responsible for her death because he chose to go out for drinks instead of being at her life-threatening surgery.
Which I'm seeing perpetuated. And I'm assuming that's something how do you feel about that, rather?
I mean, like I said, I only wanted the best for her the entire time. I had no idea. Neither of us had any idea how serious the situation was. Going into this entire medical situation, I had never. I think there might have been maybe one time in my adult life at that point that I had been to the doctors myself. I was not really familiar with the medical field at all. And, you know, after going to a handful of these doctor's appointments, both together and then her some as well, we figured out stuff as we went. I mean, I just had no experience in this area. And just going into the actual ectopic surgery, you know, like had already been to the doctor a number of times. I really just didn't know what I was doing, and I was really young, and was just kind of listening to whatever the doctors said was the next situation. And, you know, knowing the information that we knew after the fact, if we'd known it was an ectopic right away, we would have, and I would have handled the situation differently.
Did you at any point question what the doctors were saying when they, you know, when she got diagnosis of, oh, it's not serious? She said, oh, just take Tylenol, wait it out, sweat it out. Did you ever question that?
I think both of us were really kind of confused still as to like what the situation was as it was happening. Really, a lot of the kind of confusion didn't start until after the surgery, during the pretty lengthy recovery process that followed there. I was just pretty ignorant to the proceedings, and, you know, I was under a lot of pressures, and I just made some wrong calls, and I was just trying to do the best that I could to be there for my partner, as well as just everything else that I kind of set up in my life. We just didn't know.
So the next question Wubby asks is in regards to one of her more serious accusations. Not really serious to me, but
Son of a
whatever.
bitch.
The claim that when she was talking about the abortion, he was stonewalling her and unwilling to even discuss it or consider options.
I mean, I totally understand you asking. I can't speak too much to the minutia of conversations that I had, you know, 4 years ago, but you know, we did talk about this a lot. I didn't say that we shouldn't talk about it, but at the same time, I recognized that some of the language that I was using was not the most conducive to a very team-oriented approach of like, what do we do here? I was just really afraid what to do, and we just weren't ready for the situation. And I think that sometimes I just said some stupid stuff, but you know, we knew so badly immediately that we just couldn't even begin to give a good life to a child. You know, we didn't want a child at this point. Neither of us had really planned for this for many years to come, and I was really just I felt like I was trying to juggle a bunch of different things, and I just felt so much pressure. And I'm not even saying that she put that on me. Just the situation was stressful for both of us. I'm not trying to undermine her. I mean, I can't imagine what she had to go through as well. You know, I'm not here at all to discredit any of that stuff, just to try to highlight where we were at in our lives and how difficult of a decision it was. But no, we talked about this pretty extensively.
Now, Gus does admit that some of the language he used and the things he said were not very tactful, and he also acknowledges that he may not remember every conversation they had, as it was 4 years prior to Wubby's stream, but he does straight up take responsibility for being way too cruel to her and mean to her, not being the person that she needed. But he maintains there was discussion had about this subject. Next, Wubby asks how Gus was feeling when Sabrina's video came out, and he also asks if there was any warning or notice from Sabrina that it was coming. Keep in mind, Sabrina complained about the fact that Gus never reached out to her privately once her video was made public, so obviously she must have reached out to him before her video
Oh,
was
shit.
public, right?
It was a complete blind
Fucking damn it.
After we broke up,
Shit.
I mean, I think a lot of people don't really realize this. You know, this situation happened before her video came out. It had happened about 3 years prior. I think already there are a lot
That's
of folks
right.
that maybe thought that this had happened really recently. It happened about 3 years prior, and we had stayed together for the 3 years after that. You know, and during this time we talked about this situation a lot. I apologized for just the dumb stuff that I said and I did during some of that time. And I thought that, you know, after both speaking with this so much and then also seeking some external professional help, you know, that this had been in a place where we both realized where we were at. And at the time when this happened, and it was a really painful, traumatic experience for both of us. And I thought that it had been dealt with within the context of a relationship. privately.
Keep in mind, Sabrina complains about the fact that after her video came out, Gus never reached out to her privately before responding. So certainly the expectation there is that she reached out to him before her video came out, right? Now, we didn't know if this was true at the time, but if it was, it would completely make Sabrina's complaints about Gus never making any attempt to reach out to her privately stupid. Like, she is straight up unable to make that criticism. Next, Gus talks about his side of the ectopic pregnancy situation. He says that in the months following what happened, they went to countless doctors, specialists, and urgent care. Their lives were turned upside down according to him and dictated by this situation. He says that during many of these visits, it seemed like she was going through a mental health episode rather than a physical medical emergency.
A lot of the times it would manifest in it appeared like she was having a panic attack. I really don't want to say that to discredit anything that she was going to. 95% of the time, you know, she would be having trouble communicating and would be hyperventilating. Sometimes I would get frantic phone calls while she was driving and afraid that she might pass out, or she would be waking me up in the middle of the night and insisting that, you know, we should go to the emergency room or the urgent care, and that it was really, you know, she'd always say, it's different this time, it's different this time.
Was this after the surgery?
This was after the surgery, and it continued for many months, pretty heavily, and it was not uncommon for us to have a few days in a row where both of us were getting just a couple hours of sleep at night, at best. A typical week for a while after the surgery would look something like this. You know, maybe she'd start going up to work, and maybe I'd get a call on the way there. She'd be able
Yes.
She would express that she was going through
Got it. Fuck
legitimate
yes.
trauma and a recovery process from this. Again, I am not trying to undermine a single thing that she had to go through. But when this stuff happened, you know, she would come to me and call to me about, you know, saying, I need to go to the hospital. Please come to the hospital. Again, during this time, she made the personal decision to not tell anybody in her family about this situation. That is not something that I ever insisted on, but she made the personal decision to not share that with her family. She shared that in her video as well.
Given what they were going through together, I honestly do feel bad for Sabrina. It seems like this incident followed her for months and months, and the mental recovery was much harder on her than the physical one, leaving long-lasting mental scars. And I think it's totally fair to feel bad for her. It's human. It's a very human response. And as a result, Gus's immaturity and mistreatment of her is definitely something that can be criticized. But is it really surprising that a 22 to 23-year-old didn't handle a serious situation well, especially when it comes to mental health and when he's trying to get his career off the ground at the same time? It doesn't excuse his actions, but it does help to explain them. And the reason I'm even comfortable saying this is because most of what he's saying here doesn't even contradict Sabrina's story. He just kind of adds to it and provides further context and clarification. Now, some of the things he said could be wrong. He could be, I guess, lying about the fact he was 23 years old, even though Sabrina seemingly acknowledges they were very young. But it just doesn't seem to me to be like a life-ending, career-ending situation. Like, it's... He was a shitty boyfriend, and that's it. He remarks on how he was the only person in her life who had knowledge of the situation, and as a result, the burden of supporting her emotionally was solely on him.
I think she had called a family member of hers, a sister or something, when she was at the hospital initially for the surgery, and they'd made a really flippant remark regarding a potential pregnancy. That was the source of her decision to not tell anybody.
I remember even before surgery too, once I found out what was about to happen, I called my sister, and I'm like, oh hey, I'm at the hospital. And the first thing she says in the most judgmental voice is, what, you're pregnant? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not telling you anything.
For a very long time afterwards, I was the only person in her life who was ever around to deal with any of these emergency situations that occurred, and it was sometimes many times a week. She'd want to be going to the hospital, you know, she'd call me to come and take her to the hospital and stuff like that. It was pretty incessant for a while, and it was so scary and confusing. I honestly, I absolutely tried my best. I completely know that I could have done better. I really tried my best during that time. And
Damn it.
It was really a period of months where we were both absolutely exhausted. We were clearly suffering, and her so much more than me from a physical and healing standpoint. I'm not trying to equate that one dang bit, but you know, it just it seemed like nothing was being figured out and nothing could be done for quite some time. I didn't really know what to do after the appointments and the emergency room stops and the urgent care visits just kept piling up, because we would go in there, you know, dozens of times, and really what would happen about 95% of the time was that the doctor or whoever we're talking to would give us some form of, you know, hey, it's an anxiety attack, you have anxiety, it's a panic attack, you know, we could prescribe you like a benzo. But beyond that, there's not much that we can do.
I don't want that, and I don't want to get hooked on like Xanax or Ativan to try to like take the edge off whenever I feel it's starting to creep on.
And it just it got to the point where I was just so exhausted and terrified for
Holy
my partner
shit.
and terrified for what this would mean for both of our lives, that I just was I didn't know what to do anymore. And the thing is, during this time that lasted for months, you know, there were just times where I was so exhausted, I got frustrated at the problem, at the situation. It seemed like it wasn't getting better, and sometimes I said some stupid, flippant, short things. I think, I don't know. I've since apologized for these things. It's embarrassing. You know, these weren't things that I woke up in the morning and just said to her. You know, this was born out of a constant state of fear and exhaustion and frustration, and that does not make them okay. But I know what I did wrong and what I said wrong. I've since apologized for these things. It was really difficult for a long time.
Gus says that despite the hardships, despite the flippant remarks he made and him doing a poor job at handling all of this, he and Sabrina actually pushed through, and they were together for 3 years following what happened. He claims that he apologized to her during that time for what he did, but that the virus lockdowns caused a lot of strain on the relationship. It became more like they were roommates, not spending very much time together, and apparently to him, it was clear that after 4 years, the relationship was just, it was on its way out. Something made it even more complicated by the fact that he had employed her for a decent amount of time and paid for the majority of their shared living expenses, so she was, in a way, comfortable being financially dependent on him, at least according to him. They ended up seeking professional help from that counselor.
Bro, don't ever pay first. Never do that. Good lord. He paid for like everything for her, and so like as the relationship was winding down and like so it was on its last legs, he was feeling guilty about breaking up with her, paying for like rent and food and all kinds of shit because she was working. Like, never life advice to anyone listening: don't pay for anyone other. Not at all confident, but oh, that's nothing. Oh, that's not good. Yeah, that's not good. 4 cerulean flasks are not going to get us. Okay. What else can I want to keep farming. So good. Cat has joined. No, sir, you may not have the M&M. Wife, take the rest of these M&Ms. Oh wait, this mine doesn't have anything. Just the stone digger troll. We'd have to go fight the fallen. Everything's messed up. See how much damage I can. Thanks. Yeah, that damage. Got it, bro. We're gonna have to go kill Godfrey. Yeah, we're gonna have to go kill Godfrey. And we're gonna have to go kill. I'm trying. We can go and strike down. Okay. Godfrey. Then that glintstone dragon. Then once I have that dragon heart, get Eegzig's Rotten Breath. Your dragon's just Rotten Breath.
Counselor slash TikTok dating coach that she had picked during this time frame.
She had found somebody online who did couples counseling sessions, and she brought that person to me and the idea of going to these shared sessions together, and we attended a handful of them together and spoke at length for many hours about our relationship. After I put out my apology video, 24 hours went by, and she tweeted out, like, never been to a day of couples therapy in my life. And I totally understand the validity in the semantics of, therapy versus counseling.
I hate how defensive. I wish he would. At this point in the drama, I don't know if he gets a spine later on in the timeline, but at this point in the drama, bro, just go ham. For fuck's sake, this woman wants you destroyed. She wants her whole fucking reputation annihilated, man. Stand up straight, bro. Jesus.
Again, this is another area I was not very intimately involved in and familiar with. So if it was a misclassification error, I totally understand that, but I think it's a little bit more of a binary approach to it to just say, I've never been to a day of this in my life. On that situation, I talked to a couple of people close to me. I said, what can I do here? At this point, it feels like this is not, when I put out my apology video, it was over 3 months past the time that she put out her video. And I just said, I don't know what to do here. I just feel like I need to defend myself here. There were a lot of digs at my character and my decisions, and I said, I just really feel the need to defend myself. Again, I was not trying to discredit any of her trauma regarding this medical situation, but I was like, hey, we did do these things, and this was a person that she had chosen and she had brought forward to us. This was her pick. And so I shared the receipts of that online. I just said, I'm really confused why she is claiming that we never did this,
But unfortunately, it wasn't enough, The relationship couldn't be helped by whatever method they attempted. Gus says it was taking a big toll on his mental health, causing him to overeat, not get haircuts, not shower, just be a complete gooner degenerate, right?
Uh-oh. Stinky.
By fall of 2021, it was clear that the relationship wasn't working out, so they broke up. Gus claims that this was an amicable split, at least at first. He says they exchanged polite texts, and he was planning to help her move out. He claims that when this move out was happening, Sabrina actually came over and surprised him with gifts and said she wanted to get back together, which he didn't expect. Now, this is the first time anyone had ever heard that information, right? He's claiming that just weeks before the video's release, 3 weeks before the video's release, she had tried to get back together with him, and he said no. Now, he also describes here how he wanted to make a public statement saying that they had split up because obviously people will be speculating, and he consulted her to make sure that she was cool with it.
And she screamed at me and said, you put out whatever you want, but don't say it was mutual. It's a lie. And she slammed the door and left my house.
Whoa.
And then really shortly afterwards, this video came out that talked about the worst time in both of our lives, and I just wasn't expecting it, and it left me so sad because she had to go through legitimate trauma, and I just do not, for 1 second, I do not want to undermine that. I think that,
bro, if he's telling the truth about her wanting to get back together, he tells her no, and he tells her he wants to put out a video about how they're broken up. Bro, that's the worst time to do it. Jesus Christ. So the timeline from his perspective is she comes over with gifts and all this bullshit trying to get him to come back to her, right? Then he tells her no, and then after he tells her no, says, "Hey, I want to put out a video to let people know that we broke up." Bro, she was pissed. And then if he's right and she made that video or she put that video out a week after that incident, bro, she did this entirely out of spite. 100%. She's not actually. Well, she might be traumatized, but she's not actually, saying these things to get over the trauma. She's saying these things because she's pissed off at him. Bitches. I think I'm dead here. Oh, yep. Alright, we're going the alternate route.
Unfortunately, it's just so unfortunate how this came out, because this could have been such an amazing opportunity for us to both talk together about the shortcomings and the mistakes and the things that we learned during this time together. There was never any interest expressed in doing that during our time together, and unfortunately, right after the breakup, she took to doing a lot of the things that I think a lot of folks have seen post her video coming out. I just really, like, especially, I just want to interject again. I am not trying to discredit her one single bit. Like, I was so intimately involved in the being around the trauma at the time, and I know the hurt that she was going through, and this was just so absolutely personal.
Oh
I
my
never
god,
wanted
you
to
fucking
deal with
stupid
this
dog.
issue in this regard.
Oh my god. The rabid dog stopped me from getting the fucking sight of grace. Oh, you little shitter. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch.
Changes everything about the situation. It would mean that Sabrina had neglected to say in her video that she had tried to get back with Gus right before the video came out. I mean, this calls into question her intentions even more. I mean, she wanted to be with him just before the video's release. I thought he was abusive to her. I thought he was a horrible boyfriend. I thought he needed to take accountability. Why would you want to be with that guy 3 weeks before the video came out? And right after this interaction, she made her video? If true, it would mean that not only was this not really about women's health and the struggles around abortion rights in the United States, not only was it a thinly veiled hit piece, but with this information, it seems like it was posted as revenge for him not getting back with her.
Talk about a gross violation.
Now, for the time being, it was unclear if any of this was true, but we'll get to Sabrina's response pretty soon. But this is an absolute bombshell, and it changes everything. Gus then points out the various tweets she liked and her behavior after the video came out, which was clearly, like I said, part of some kind of revenge plot.
She took to Twitter the same day that the video came out, and she was liking tweets and retweeting things from random users that I just feel like really unfairly mischaracterized me during what happened in that situation. And it was beyond stuff like that too. You know, she took to creating memes about me and the situation and continued to post about this. And unfortunately, it didn't just stop from a public front. She took to a lot of my friends and people that I do business with that aren't publicly personalities as well, and tried to get them to stop working with me.
Jesus.
Tried to cut off connections. And I know this because in the last half of a year, I've had a number of these people come to me personally and just say that she made them feel extraordinarily uncomfortable by the kind of conversations that she had with them following this video. It was so embarrassing.
Now, Gus is super painfully careful with his wording and delivery here. Whether it's for optics or out of an honest place, I don't know, but at no point does he minimize what she went through. And he makes sure to always remind people, I know what she went through was horrible and I feel bad for her, and I'm sorry for contributing to that. He says that like 30 times. But he even claims that Sabrina not only tried to hurt his career from a public perspective, which we could all see, according to him, she went out of her way to tell multiple of his friends and connections about what happened to try and get them to cut ties.
Unfortunately, it didn't just stop from a public front. She took to a lot of my friends and people that I do business with that aren't publicly personalities as well, and tried to get them to stop working with me. tried to cut off connections, and I know this because in the last half of a year I've had a number of these people come to me personally and just say that she made them feel extraordinarily uncomfortable by the kind of conversations that she had with them following this video.
Now, he never shows any proof for this, but if true, this 1000% contradicts
Bro, me.
Sabrina's
What
claim
the
that she doesn't
fuck?
want
Did
any
they
harm
give him
to
a
come to Gus and
boner?
his livelihood.
But I do
What the
want to
fuck?
say, I'm
No.
not looking to cancel anybody.
What?
With
No.
that being said, if you enjoy Gus's content, by all means, keep watching it. I'm not going to judge you or anything.
It's false. No, not this time.
Not this time.
Not this time.
Not this
also
time, buddy.
points out that same contradiction in intention that I did, because on one hand, she's claiming she never meant to name Gus in her original video, and therefore, she's not responsible for whatever happens to him. Going back to her statement, she said, "I didn't name Gus in the video. I didn't intend for things to evolve the way they have. My goal wasn't to vilify my ex, but share a very real struggle of mine that at the time felt invisible." She doesn't name him here, but she did reply to someone on YouTube who said, "I know you didn't mention your ex by name, but I think we can all figure it out. I canceled tickets we bought for a show next year." And she responded being, "Thank you for your support." She even liked a tweet that said in plain text that the video was about Gus. She then liked a tweet claiming that Gus had abused her mentally, verbally, and emotionally. And she liked a tweet that claimed that Gus suppressed her from even telling her family, which she never even said in her original video. Now, a lot of what Gus says here, if true, changes the story.
She never even named me, and it was only to share her story. And I mean, I don't know. I think you could pretty clearly see a contradiction in intention between those two things within the span of a day or a few hours here. I mean, that happened. It got to the point too here as I've been kind of coming back. You know, I've had to change a lot of things around in my life. I've been really gearing up for a big tour this year, and that involved working with and collaborating with a number of folks. We put a lot of time and energy into this, and it just got to the point with my expectant hiatus during this whole situation that I didn't have enough time to really dedicate to this tour and stuff, and I had to cancel this. It was probably a few weeks ago at this point. I announced on Instagram that I had to cancel the tour, and then within about an hour of that, she tweeted out, "That's showbiz, baby." With an exclamation point on there.
But I don't want to assume anything. I don't want to assume that he's just telling the truth because he didn't provide a single screenshot, so who knows? Instead of just believing that, I'd rather hear what Sabrina has to say about it all. And she had a lot of time to speak about it, and she kind of also said barely anything. So Sabrina fired up her own Twitch stream to talk about what Gus had said shortly after this Wubby interview.
You know, in my last Twitter statement, I said that I was only gonna do what was gonna bring me peace. But I haven't had that today, or since last night. You know, I could have people calling me a liar. I could have people harassing me. But the combo, it's just I can't have the combo. Can't have the combo and be quiet.
Her first complaint with the response to the situation is what she sees as a privacy violation and invalidation of her feelings.
You know, originally, and I know a lot of other creators feel this way, that we share what we want to share, what we feel comfortable sharing. We have lives off of the internet as well. And it seems like normally the healthiest thing to do is to understand that people, strangers, are not entitled to know every little detail about you. I made my video in October because I was finally comfortable sharing that. Took a while, but I got there. And ever since then, overwhelming support, but definitely some people trying to invalidate me along the way.
It seems redundant to even say this now, but Sabrina is making this statement now, so like, I'm gonna go in, okay? Sabrina is the one who made this all a public spectacle in the first place, and then made a lot of what I'll nicely call missteps in the situation. I think it's fair for people to question her, especially on her various inconsistencies, her being misleading about her intentions, and the clear effort she made to harm her ex-boyfriend's career. Now, the first lie she attempts to call out is in regards to her intentions around keeping or not keeping this fetoid.
I just gotta reiterate, I was always going to get the abortion.
Mm.
Was always gonna do it. I did all of the appointments. I went to all of the appointments except the actual day of the procedure by myself. The day of the actual procedure, Gus went with me. But I was still going to all my appointments.
That's fair enough, but in her original video, she says she was second-guessing herself and wanted to, maybe, have a kid. This is in her own words.
And I did have moments of weakness where I would cry and say things like, okay, but honestly, like, can we just consider, like, what if we didn't do it? Still gonna do it, but can we just consider what would happen if I didn't?
I don't doubt that in her most rational and sane moments, she knew she wanted to abort this child. But realistically, she herself said she wanted to consider other options. So the idea that Gus lied about this when he just reiterated what she had said already and agreed with her is very dumb. I mean, she literally admits that she was saying to him, maybe I want to have this kid. Is he supposed to read her mind and her intentions and know that, oh, actually, she's going to abort it anyway, even though she's saying to me, maybe I don't want to abort this kid? Like, what is he supposed to do here? She then just repeats a lot of what she said in her original video. She says that he downplayed the pain she felt prior to finding out about the ectopic pregnancy.
And I told Gus about it. I told him how bad my pain was. I told him how much my abdominal area was hurting. You know what he said? He said, it's probably the Del Taco we had last night. Yeah, my stomach kind of hurts too. It's not a big deal.
Dude, every doctor around him is giving him the impression that, like, you're fucking crazy. Every doctor around him is giving him the impression that you are stress-induced your own sickness. What the fuck is he supposed to react with? This is when people in... This is like when in horror movies, when the main character is like, I see the ghosts, I see the ghosts. And then the side characters are all like, this bitch is crazy. We gotta get her in a fucking asylum. Are these people just supposed to, like, betray every single, like, foundational belief they hold because one character says that X is true? Like, do we have to throw away all of reality the moment you say, like, I'm in severe agony? He probably feels guilty as shit for believing those doctors, but, like, in the moment, anybody would believe doctors. Doctors are fucking doctors. These are people that had to go to school for, like, 10 fucking years in order to be able to sit you down and go, hey, by the way, you don't think there's anything wrong. Her going, oh, well, then he said, well, maybe it's just the Del Taco we had. Well, no shit, he probably thinks it's just the Del Taco you had. What the fuck else is he supposed to think? I don't mean to be a simp for this job. For the fact, I don't even know it, but the fact that that's right. The fact that's correct. Yes, hey, Bubba. The fact that he hasn't refuted what he said, and what he said is that try to get back with him, and he said no. The fact that she hasn't refuted that yet. Bro, not looking good. That's like an immediate red flag. Immediately makes me think that she most certainly is lying and is just being a scornful ex. Cringe and bad. Any person does, regardless of sex. Like, the moment you behave in a manner like automatically a shit person. Especially if y'all break up amicably. It's awful. It's awful when men act psychotic after a breakup, and it's I was about to say especially. It's equally as awful when a woman acts like a fucking psychopath after a breakup. Hot take, I know.
Just go back to sleep.
She frames this as a point against him, but then also admits that neither of them knew what was actually going on at the time. So how am I supposed to fault Gus for this specific incident? She then calls him out for what she sees as lying by omission in regards to the night she went to the hospital when he was recording the podcast.
He didn't mention that I was waiting for him at the hospital to anybody that he was around that day. So he proceeded, and the thing is, like, in the interview yesterday when he was even asked about that exact moment, he didn't really acknowledge it. Which was like, that's kind of like one of the big parts, you know?
But he did mention that. Like, he totally did. He went in depth even more than she did in her response or her original video.
I had made a podcast obligation with a guest to film that evening. We had just started the podcast and gotten it off the ground, and I just felt a lot of pressure to deliver to the people that had crowdfunded that and to deliver to Eddie. And this is me taking full responsibility for that decision. It's not Eddie or anybody else, you know, that caused that. I just chose to stick behind and honor that obligation. She told me that she was going to the hospital, and I told her I would join her as soon as I was done. At that time, neither of us still knew that it was an ectopic pregnancy. We had no idea.
Is there issue with his wording? With him not using the word waiting? I really don't understand. Like, they have the same exact timeline here. I mean, it's kind of assumed she was waiting at the hospital for him, right? What even is her issue? She keeps saying she was scared and alone with a very smug face, and saying that she and Gus both knew something was severely wrong.
Knowing I was waiting in the hospital, scared and alone. But of course, again, it was not confirmed that it was ectopic. But we knew that something was severely wrong.
But 1 minute ago, in this same stream, you said that he didn't actually know, and he thought it might have been because you ate a bunch of Mexican food.
You know what he said? He said it's probably the Del Taco we had last night.
Like, within minutes, she contradicted herself. Which one is it? She says he didn't know, and neither did she. Then she says he did know something was wrong, but then cushions the criticism, albeit barely, by saying, but, you know, of course, neither of us knew it was ectopic at the time. What even is the expectation here? What does she want? She meanders for a bit before showing a Snapchat message between her and Gus where she describes how she's bleeding out of her vagina.
This joke's gonna be about my vagina?
Sabrina says that she feels like an old water pump in these messages, and Gus says, "You're my little pump."
I want to kiss your vagina.
And this is basically to say that Gus, like, should have known that something serious was going on. I mean, maybe at the point of this message, should he have been like, okay, maybe the doctors are wrong. Maybe he should have thought that, maybe. But frankly, I don't know what his understanding of the female body is, or his understanding of what happens during pregnancy is, okay? If someone told me that women shoot flames out of their
vagina
during pregnancy, I would probably believe it, honestly.
Whoa, did you see that?
I mean, the doctors themselves were saying there's nothing wrong. Like, what is some 23-year-old guy supposed to say to that? Oh, actually, I disagree with the doctors in my infinite wisdom. I looked on WebMD. Once again, I don't even see how this is a point against him at all. Especially when he himself has already conceded that he didn't behave well during the relationship, and his knowledge of the topic was extremely poor. Gus does describe what she experienced as spotting in terms of the bleeding instead of a water pump, and that is a contradiction, but it's a pretty minor one to even point out, in my opinion. Especially considering that, once again, all of the doctors at the time thought nothing serious was going on.
Because I was kind of brushed off a lot by people I was supposed to trust. Mainly the medical professionals. Like, we weren't doctors. I understand that much. But at the very least...
Who is Gus to question someone who went to school for 12 years to know this kind of thing?
Bro, he's literally taking my takes. What the fuck,
Gus
Turkey?
didn't know that. Sabrina didn't even know that. So on one hand, Sabrina gets to say, well, he should have known. But also, there's no way he could have known. Once again, how is this a point against him? I'm trying not to be pedantic here, but this is, like, mind-breaking me, okay?
Are these people actually pro-life? This is scary. And I was wrong. Especially now, I've learned after like talking with like Mama Dr. Jones and a few other like women and whatnot, or people who work at Planned Parenthood, that they ask you that to make sure you're not being coerced into getting an abortion. Because it's more common than you think.
In this stream, she says she was always going to get an abortion, never a doubt in her mind. But in her initial video, she said she was going to do it, but then she got cold feet when she found out she was pregnant and was like reconsidering. Gus himself said he was terrified of her having a child and was definitely insistent that she get an abortion when she expressed that she maybe wanted to change her mind. From what angle is that coercion or forcing her to do anything? For some reason, she won't outright say what she means here. She'll just imply it. I think you should really say it with your chest, Sabrina.
Because it's more common than you think.
Next, she talks about the misconception that Sabrina helped spread that Gus prevented her from telling her family. Her new claim is that he forced her not to tell her family because she wanted to protect him.
I had the choice in whether to tell my family. And that's true to some extent. I could not tell my family because I wanted to protect him.
Wait, nope, stop. It's rewind time.
It's rewind time.
So is it
Rewind
both
time.
now?
Just in case
No.
it did go wrong, I called my mom and I lied and I said it was an ovarian cyst. It's not a big deal, but I just want to let you know what hospital I'm at. Don't come, because I didn't want anybody
Don't
to find
come.
out. But I called my sister.
Do not come.
And I'm like,
I'm gonna
"Okay, I'm
come."
at the hospital. And the first thing she says in the most judgmental voice is, "What? You're pregnant?" And I'm like, okay. Yeah, I'm not telling you anything.
Is it that you didn't want to tell them because they were judgmental and also to protect him? Why not say that in the initial video? Did he ask you not to tell them, or did you just decide that for him? She goes on to say that with how she and Gus were public figures, she was aware of the consequences around this information getting out.
I wanted to protect my boyfriend's reputation. Because also with family, you know, people talk. And it could spread, and I didn't want it to spread to the wrong people and spread to the internet.
So initially, she says her family's going to be weird about it, so she doesn't want to tell them. Gus agrees with that interpretation in the Wubby interview, but now there's this other reason. I mean, it could be true, but it reads as kind of strange when suddenly the story has changed to it somehow being his fault. Maybe mom was watching this stream. Now next, she claims that he made a very insensitive comment to her about what happened with the pregnancy.
At one point, he said he was glad it was ectopic. Because then neither of us had to choose, and the choice was made for us. And it worked out. So happy. So glad it was ectopic.
You know what? It's totally fair for her to be mad at him over this. But what I'm really looking for so far from this stream is, 1, evidence Gus is lying, which I have yet to find. 2, a reason for her to make any of this situation public in the first place, and that we have completely yet to find. I mean, he admits in his initial apology video and in his stream interview that he handled things very poorly, said insensitive things to her, and he was not the person she needed him to be at that time. He admitted to that straight up. If him being a boyfriend when he's 22 or 23 is really too much for you to keep watching his videos, then, like, honestly, that's your prerogative. I think you're dumb, but if that's really your decision, then whatever, okay? But I personally don't care. And I'm not even a fan of Gus Johnson. I'm probably never going to watch him. I don't give a shit, okay? But, like, I would not stop watching someone because I found out they were a boyfriend. What I'm very sure of is that nothing he did rises to the level of cancellation or him losing his career. But
Printer had a fucking beef with lyrics, something or other, and I wanted to see what it was. And you came over here and you caught me looking at my tweeter. Whatever the fuck it's called now, I don't care. Caught me. No, I wasn't. I was waiting for it to load back up. You don't understand, wife. Okay. I'm doing advanced gamer shit. Shit! Fucking hate the breath attack. Ooh. Damn it, Smarg, Marag, whatever the fuck your name is. I knew it. I knew it. That's why I fucking got up. Oh, we gotta go reproc the Rotten. Why? Booyah.
Destroyed.
There's 30 more minutes of this stream to go through that I'm gonna love watching, so maybe there's something I'm missing that she's gonna bring up that will change my opinion. Maybe there's like a really serious allegation in here, okay? It could be here. We don't know.
Yeah, he said that I had the choice to tell my family and talk about it. Did I really?
Yes, you did have the choice.
I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, he was talking to somebody, and he said that he was scared of this happening, of me making a video about my pregnancy experience. And the person said, "Why would you be scared? You said it was her choice, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, no, yeah, sure, yeah." And just brushed it off. And he lied. So he knew. He knew.
Now, for viewers at home, okay, for the kiddos and families watching this around the TV with your TV dinners, okay, I want you to think about this. Is it possible that he didn't want something that was extremely traumatic for him and you to be aired out to random people online and speculated on? Is that an unreasonable request for him to not want that to be public? Is it totally insane for him to think that he doesn't want that out? Like, once again, how is this even him lying? Now, if this did happen, this conversation she's talking about, don't you think he should have been included in the decision to talk about this when it directly involves him? Well, apparently not, considering Sabrina's actions, but I just think that's ridiculous. At one point, when Sabrina was going through what she describes as an episode marked by abdominal pain and dizziness, she says that she asked Gus to take her to the doctor. He says he won't take her to the doctor unless she calls her insurance's advice nurse, and he wanted to be able to listen to this phone call. He insisted. She didn't want him listening to that phone call, apparently. She claims that Gus then tried to take the phone away from her so that he could listen.
He tried to take my phone away from me, so I wasn't gonna...
I hate this smug, arrogant demeanor that she has throughout this whole video, like, and he was lying about that, and this is the tea, and I'm just kind of like doing this motion. My chair hit the fucking, my chair hit the desk, so I couldn't do it fully. Hold on, shit, I'm about to get absolutely obliterated by glintstone. Okay, we're alive, we lived. GG, really big skill game. Okay, she goes like this. She goes like this. Looking at the camera, so not even like I'm doing it. She's like, so he was lying about that. This very smug, smarmy, condescending way of delivering this message makes me think. I would expect, like, with the way she's acting, I would expect there to be, like, receipts or something. She would have some level of proof, but she has literally nothing. I don't understand why she has this level of confidence.
let that happen.
Um,
And so to try to keep my phone with me and on my ear, I tangled it into my hair.
What?
Like this. To try to keep it there. Thinking, you're not gonna touch it. You're not gonna touch me. And I was wrong. My hair got pulled while trying to steal my phone from me. Hard. And that's when I just like absolutely broke down sobbing. Because I did not expect that.
Now, this is not a nice thing to do, but once again, it doesn't constitute abuse, either mental, physical, or emotional, nor is it unforgivable in my opinion. If he had, let's say, grabbed her hair explicitly or tried to hurt her.
Jesus,
okay,
how is this
that's
breaking my
fine.
poise so
But
easily?
she herself never even alleges that. She says that she didn't want him to grab the phone, and she decided to tangle it in her hair because she thought that would prevent him. That's not physical abuse, which I think is what Sabrina's implying here, but it's not. And once again, this is just what Sabrina claims happened. We don't know that this is the truth of the matter. It honestly sounds kind of believable, but even if it's true, it's not like Gus Johnson. He's a horrible person, okay? Get rid of him. To the gallows! no, who cares? She then claims that Gus would frequently express his anger by yelling. Sabrina says she cannot handle any amount of yelling.
I just can't do yelling, even if it's not directed at me. Like, if it's just like just something irrelevant or even something dumb. Like, I can't handle yelling. And maybe that's something that I could work on and be better at for sure. But yeah. So that was probably like one incompatibility issue.
Where is she? Damn it, Barbara! It's getting a little dusty. Gotta wash it off.
Now Sabrina gets into the issue of her trying to get back with Gus weeks before the release video.
Oh, here we go.
He said that she had screamed at him and slammed
This is where I'm
him,
at.
basically having a freak out.
Sure.
She says the reason she wanted to get back with him was because she thought it would make her feel better and be more comfortable or something. Like, is that a virtuous reason to get back with someone? Am I losing my mind here? Is that a virtuous reason to get back with someone? Is that a good thing? I don't think so. I don't think that's a justifiable reason to want to get back together with someone.
I'm living alone in a hotel trying to handle my
Yeah.
PTSD because one of the things about it was that I couldn't sleep alone. So I was starting to reconsider, like, oh my gosh, was this a mistake?
She shows a text message of her talking to a friend about the subject. Her friend asks, do you think things will improve? And she replies that she knows how to maneuver through her old life and knows what she can do to make things work a bit better, and that she really hates how she's felt over the last few weeks. So basically her motivation to be with him is that she thought it would make her feel better or ease the pain she experienced from the ectopic pregnancy or maybe other mental factors. I feel like wanting to be with a partner because of what they can do for you rather than because you actually like them is bad. She's basically saying that she needs to rely on him for emotional support. And keep in mind, when she didn't get that, she made a video about him. Like, if she thought she could rely on him for emotional support, then why is she making a video saying that he was never supportive? Like, clearly he was at the point that you wanted to get back with him, right? I mean, this contradicts her prior implication that he hasn't changed in reference to the rhinoplasty recovery when Gus was opening Pokemon cards on Twitch. Now, she then says that Gus blatantly lied about the screaming.
Everybody who knows me knows that I am not like a yelling person. That's not me. So I was really, really bothered that he would make up. That was just a blatant lie. That I screamed at him and that I slammed a door. First of all, why would I slam a door? I have my dog with me. I'm not gonna risk squishing her little foot. I don't slam doors. I'm not the one who does that. The part that bothered me was implying that I would scream at him. I don't do that. That's not a thing. And other people would happily back me up that I don't do that.
She asserts that everyone she knows would back her up that she doesn't do that. She's not that kind of person. This is a very poor argument, as you can easily say the same about Gus.
Because Gus is a little...
How do you think Sabrina would respond if he said, all my friends know I would never do something like that? Probably not with the same trusting exuberance, I would imagine. Now, we don't have direct evidence of his claim that she screamed at him or her claim that she didn't. So ultimately, this is a he said, she said. I will say I think Gus has been more consistent throughout everything, but it's up to you who you want to believe with this one, because the only people that truly know what went down in this specific interaction are Gus and Sabrina.
And even then, like, if I screamed at him and slammed a door, we wouldn't have messages, because that took place on September 26th. I think that the date was in the previous screenshot that I put up with my friend. That was September 26th, and then we texted again on October 1st, very politely, because I had to pick Eva up from the vet that was nearby and pick up some more stuff. And it was totally fine. We left on a positive note.
Sabrina says here that there's no way she could have yelled at him because they exchanged very cordial messages afterwards, which she never shows, but let's take her word for it, I guess. Keep in mind here, okay, if this is the standard she's setting, she continued to date Gus for 3 years after he demeaned her and, according to her, yelled at her. And also keep in mind that a few weeks later, when they were cordial, she posted her video about him. But they're both consistent that Sabrina tried to get back together with him and he declined that offer.
I think Wubby tweeted at me one time about keeping things in the DMs, and it's like, my DMs are empty. Anyway.
Sabrina also claims that a pattern of Gus deprioritizing her in dire situations continued after the ectopic pregnancy.
The pattern of putting himself above me in dire situations just persisted, and that's when I would bring it up again. I am a person who can accept apologies. I think I'm okay at apologizing, and I think I'm okay at accepting them and like not holding them over somebody's head. However, Apologies don't mean anything if the behavior doesn't change.
And if that happened, it's completely fair to be upset. And honestly, Sabrina doesn't need to forgive Gus. That's between her and him. But once again, she has failed to justify here why it needed to be made public in the first place. Because once she did, it wasn't between them, it was between them and all of their friends and the entire internet. I'm searching so hard here to find some interpretation of Sabrina, because like honestly, I don't really care either way who's right. Like if Sabrina is a victim of a horrible boyfriend and that boyfriend is Gus Johnson, and the horrible boyfriend is him abusing her physically and being like a complete piece of shit, unforgivable, like
God damn it.
Gus, if that's the case, but that's not. I mean, she tried to get back with him 3 weeks before her video came out. How am I, or frankly, how is any viewer supposed to trust that her intentions were good the entire time when she neglected to even mention that in her initial video? She then contradicts the notion that she didn't blame Gus in her prior statement, admitting that if she ever made a public statement, it would be obvious who she was talking about.
Also, a lot of people are like, why didn't I speak about this sooner? Of course I couldn't. How was I supposed to do that? A good partner protects their partner. Right? I couldn't do that. Like, it was too risky, and like I already knew that he didn't want to. Because also, if I did it, then obviously people would know it was him, like while we were still together, and I didn't want to like affect him.
All right, so now Sabrina addresses the claim from Gus that Sabrina encouraged people to cut ties with him and made them feel very uncomfortable.
I made sure to reach out to some of my friends, former mutual friends, I guess you would say, and I just wanted to confirm, because I know that after the breakup that I made a conscious effort to not make people feel like they had to cut ties with Gus. I made sure I said, I understand if you still want to be friends, that's totally fine. And then they would ask me like what happened, and then obviously I would tell them about like some of my experiences and some that I don't want to share on stream. This stream is hard enough, but I would have these conversations, and you know, people just made their choices on their own. And so in the last 24 hours, I followed up with a number of friends. And the thing is, there's a big circle overlap in a lot of these friend groups, where if anybody ever felt like I was trying to manipulate them into cutting ties with him, then somebody would have heard about it by now. But even when I'm not around, I am now being told that when I wasn't around, if people talked about it, people were in solidarity with me, and people made choices on their own to cut ties. I did not go around smearing, telling lies. I did not do that at all. I was not telling people you better cut ties.
Sabrina says Gus is lying here, full stop. She says she did not encourage anyone to cut ties. Instead, her side is that she messaged many of their mutual friends and connections, and they told them about the experience she had with Gus, and they made the decision on their own. But obviously, if you message a bunch of your friends and business connections, private relationship details framed exclusively from your perspective, keep in mind we don't even know what she said to them specifically, they may feel pressure to drop Gus, especially when you were planning to drop a public allegation video about it. That's what's gonna happen. But it wasn't an allegation video. It was about her experience. She didn't even name Gus. Listen, guy, that is also me, but is a real argument I've heard thousands of times. Your bloodline needs to end right now, okay? If after everything I've shown you here, you still believe that, you are either lying to yourself or you need to have your driver's license revoked because your intelligence is so fucking low.
I made sure to hop on a stream and say, I am not trying to cancel him. Go watch his stuff. If you already have tickets to the tour, great, go enjoy the show.
Is Sabrina going to acknowledge the fact that she thanks someone for not being a fan of him anymore and literally thanks him for canceling their ticket to his tour? Is she going to make note of that here? The answer is no. Moving on.
I've been getting just awful messages, awful mentions, awful tags. It hasn't been great, so I am going to come up here, and hopefully for the last time, this will be it. I hope that Gus continues to make sketches. Please do. Go stream, go on tour, go do everything. Just keep my name out your mouth. I just don't, I want this to not happen anymore.
No, 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 no. You don't get to just play victim after everything you did to name Gus and the proven instances we have of you lying about your intentions. This is all Sabrina's doing. People should not harass Sabrina. I don't support that. But Gus undoubtedly received a lot of harassment and straight up lies being spread about him. And what did Sabrina do? Well, she liked it. She literally physically liked it. And not once, okay? This wasn't a slip up. This was a pattern of behavior. In regards to her posting That's Showbiz Baby at the time that Gus's tour was canceled, Sabrina claims that her tweet was unrelated and instead it was in reference to a show she liked and had seen at the time. I'll let you all decide if that makes sense given her prior behavior. I honestly think she probably was talking about the canceled tour, but you know what? I can't prove it either way. You can have your interpretation, okay? She then shows a message to show her intentions around messaging their mutual creator friends. And in this message, is them talking about their mutual friends who have dropped Gus as a result of her video. I don't think this makes you look good, Sabrina. Like, you probably thought it did, but it actually doesn't. Like, simultaneously, she claims she doesn't want people to drop him. But also, she says she has no issue if they do choose to. Once again, I think this shows her true intentions. And she volunteered this information, too, for everyone to see. She also said in this screenshot that she is sad if what happened affects Gus's friendship with people. Well, then let them be friends. Encourage them to be friends despite what happened between you two. Don't passively say, oh man, that sucks, or sorry that happened, I guess. She then touches on the issue of the dating coach, saying Gus refused to get therapy, which is his right, and all she was able to get him to do was one BetterHelp session and then this TikTok dating coach. And she kind of barely accepts here that there's a discrepancy between what she said about having never been to see a couples therapist and what he said. Like, once again, if you really believe that this interpretation of events from her is fair, that's on you, but I totally don't.
And yeah, like if people want to boil coach, like dating coach versus therapist versus counselor, if they want to like boil that down to just, oh, that's semantics. It's like, okay.
And this is where her specific rebuttals end. She concludes by saying that she didn't make the video because of the breakup, and she did want to make it sooner, but she felt like she could not. She never acknowledges her liking tweets that spread misinformation, the Pokemon card story, and overall doesn't provide very much evidence to dispute Gus's claims. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean she lied about everything. Gus has just as little proof as her for some of these things, but at the end of this stream, I'm still left with the conclusion that this never needed to be made public. Like, this never needed to be made public at all. And her actions directly led to Gus losing a lot of subscribers and business opportunities, which she never acknowledges or takes responsibility for. And while this is pretty anecdotal, her smug, dismissive tone in contrast to Gus's, like, understanding, non-combative tone, in my opinion, speaks volumes about her true intentions, given everything else we've seen. Alright, so I've now exhaustively reviewed every piece of media from Gus and Sabrina. So now it's time to talk about how other people publicly contributed to Sabrina's revenge plot against Gus. So when this initially went down, a lot of people on YouTube talked about it, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Firstly, it was a public spectacle, so obviously commentary channels want to get in there, but Gus himself was friends with a prominent commentary channel, Eddie Burback, which means that he's kind of in the community. Sort of in a very specific part of the YouTube commentary game, but in it nonetheless, and thus a lot of smaller commentary channels cover it, and also some pretty big ones.
No, guys, hold up. Whatever happens here,
oh no,
the DNA, we're all friends, right?
Oh no.
Right.
Oh my god.
Friends forever.
Bro, the Dark Avengers.
Now, the only creator I found who went through this situation and dissected it all while also doing his due diligence and really doing the research, in my opinion, to at least present the story accurately, okay, was Jimmy Robbins. He deserves major credit for how responsibly he covered this story. And he's not a chud like me, so I don't want to hear that only a misogynistic incel could draw the same conclusions that I did, okay?
What she said.
I actually sourced him as a starting point for a lot of my research, so major props to him. He did a good job. The only other person who even questioned Sabrina's position was Destiny.
It wouldn't surprise me if he did try to pressure her, but I don't even know if that's necessarily wrong on his part, right? Like, he's looking at, like, what could be, like, the largest financial and, like, life relationship obligation coming out of nowhere that he thought he'd already...
Oh, shit. I was in this stream. Oh, my God. I was in this stream right here. What the fuck? Like, I wasn't, like, fucking a part of it. I wasn't on camera or, like, talking to Destiny, but, like, I was there for this. Jesus Christ. I didn't even realize that I had already been privy to a lot of this knowledge. Son of a fucking bitch. I fucking hate this fucking level. Shit. Where the fuck is the nearest site of Grace? I want to grab the fucking Erd Tree Seal and then upgrade it and then dip.
Happen. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he was trying to pressure her a little bit, especially if you feel like somebody's about to renege on a situation like that. That's super, super, super scary.
But he didn't have all the events that happened after her video release, so he wasn't able to go as in-depth. Pretty much everyone else I've seen that covered this story or even mentioned it seriously f***ed it up. Ethan is online, someone you may remember from the Super Mega situation.
This guy is like my antithesis. I think I'll have succeeded in streaming when I get to have a conversation with. If I get to have a conversation with Ethan is online and Nick is not green, I will seriously have I will have finally peaked. I want to talk to this guy so bad. This guy is so insolent. His brain is mush because of social justice, lefty nonsense, and I really.
Had commented at the time that if abusers were genuinely remorseful for the pain they've caused, they wouldn't use every opportunity to center the conversation around how hard it is to deal with their own consequences. Now, without even getting into this idea that Gus is an abuser, because I think I've already outlined why it's not really abuse, this is just wrong. In Gus's initial statement, he said he felt bad for how he treated Sabrina. He apologized. In his video talking about the past few months, he also did the same thing. And in the Pay Money Wubby stream, he repeatedly says that he feels bad for how he treated Sabrina, and he talks about the things he did. So even if we disagree with this whole abuser word being thrown in there, this tweet is just a lie and not what happened at all. Ethan then says, "It must suck so bad to be a person. Wow, too bad there's no solution to this." I mean, if we take Gus and Sabrina's word for it, like, he went to therapy, he did his best to undo the emotional harm he caused her, and then when it was clear things were not working out, they broke up and went their separate ways. At which point, they could be happy and potentially be with other people. When Sabrina tried to be with him again, he declined it, recognizing the relationship could never be happy for either of them and not wanting to prolong whatever pain she may have felt. What does he expect to happen here? Should Gus just lose his career? Should he live in a cardboard box? Is that the conclusion? Ethan would also go on to call Gus a greasy little weasel.
You
serious?
Imagine me laughing right now or something. A hearty laugh. Hearty har har. Over on YouTube, a lot of bad videos were made about this whole thing. Max Williams, for example, was extremely dense with his arguments. He claims Gus is lying about taking a break from social media because he posted one video during a 3-month period.
Let's not forget about the fact that he wasn't actually away from social media for 3 months. There's literally a video on his channel. It says, "This kid in gym class who always got an ice pack 1 month ago." That's not 3 months.
Wow, you really got him there, man.
Nice,
Gus
bro.
is destroyed. What
Amazing
a substantive
argument.
point. He also complains that
Powerful.
the video Gus made is 4 minutes long and implies that its length makes it inherently bad.
I was not able to fully realize and understand the pain that my partner was going through.
That line didn't ever make sense to me, and it still doesn't. How can you be so close to a situation and not understand it? Isn't that how you understand a situation?
Dude, you are
That
what
was
does this
one of
even
the
mean? The point
greatest
of what he's
arguments
saying is that
in
he
my
was
entire
close to
life,
the situation physically, but he didn't realize the emotional gravity and impact of what he did until much later. And he literally says that.
It made it difficult for me to see through that, to really connect with and understand her sense of fear. As the medical situation continued to last for many months with no end in sight, there were just times that I just said some stupid stuff.
Dude, he literally got scared of becoming a father, right?
And some things that just caused me.
Wait, that's it? What does that mean? What is his point? He just plays the video after this? Yes, Max Williams, being a father at 23 years old is very scary. And if you're unprepared for it, then it's
Son
even
of a
scarier.
bitch.
Is Max Williams pro-life? Am I missing something? Conservative guy.
Are these people actually pro-life? This is scary.
Bro is really scared of the most daunting undertaking known to any human being. Skull emoji. Wow. Like, yeah, you should be scared.
He won't actually, like, go into what he said. And again, this can be controversial because people will say that, like, the internet doesn't have to know everything. But then people also will say that he should be talking about this stuff, which it's probably important if you're going to put out an apology video to kind of get into this and, like, talk about your own fault.
Dude, are you even watching? He's apologizing. He says he said some very mean things to her. Is he supposed to recall every mean thing he said like 4 years prior to this video? I mean, you can just watch Sabrina's video, which Gus didn't even shit on or say is full of falsehoods. He was like, yeah, you know what? I effed up. That's her video. She can talk about it. She should keep talking about it. Like, what is the expectation here, really?
And I thought that I was doing everything right.
But how? He literally left her all alone in this terrible situation.
What happened to being specific, man? What happened to that? Not gonna elaborate on that comment at all? Neither Gus nor Sabrina say he left her all alone. They both in their stories say that they didn't know she had an ectopic pregnancy when she went to the hospital. He showed up 4 hours later, and then they found out. So, like, if you're gonna talk about this, at least work with the facts from both of them.
We sought couples therapy.
Whoa, pump the brakes there. I just saw a tweet from Sabrina that literally says right here, never been to couples therapy a day in my life. So he just straight up made that up and just lied to his
I
audience.
love how they just buy it. These people are so fucking stupid.
What a fucking lie.
People are like actually brain dead. I don't understand how to help like this. They're actually mentally bereft. I don't know how to. How is one statement from somebody who is clearly biased and how the hell is that your standard of evidence? This is not an excuse for his audience either. Like, his audience is also extremely retarded for not calling him out on this. These fucking idiots are probably sitting there watching going, yeah, man, you're so right. Yeah, bro. Like, bro, she said it right there. Dude, the guy's lying. Fuck, I missed the jump.
Liar, dude. What a fucking Weasley little liar, dude.
But how do you know that, Max? How do you know that? Why is it that when Gus says something with no proof, it's a lie, but when Sabrina does it, it's true? Is it possible you don't actually care about the truth of the situation and just want to support whatever Sabrina says? I gotta say, my almonds are pretty activated now.
And because you're not smart or mature.
And I'm going to use those activated almonds to talk about Nick is not green, our favorite guy.
Nice.
Now, a lot of people, like Nick, claimed that Gus was hiding the comments on his response video that were critical of him. I've seen no direct evidence of this, but if Gus did that, that is very bad, and he should be criticized for it. Honestly, that's bad conduct. It is. You shouldn't do that. But, why am I holding this? Whatever, I'm going to keep going. But, that doesn't mean that everything that Gus says is wrong or not to be listened to. You should at least be willing to hear him out. Now, Nick is another character from the whole Super Mega situation. He since apologized for his behavior in that saga, and given that he deleted this video on Gus and I'm about to show you, I think he probably regrets how he handled it if I had to guess, but it's worth talking about anyway, because it contributed a lot to the falsehoods and misguided intentions around the situation. Nick opens by saying that he feels the need to talk about this because he's friends with Sabrina.
As someone who is a close friend of Sabrina's and many people who had a friendship with Gus in the past, I felt the need to address this interview so more people could hear from someone who has real-life insight in this situation and knows more than the actual public does. I was given permission by Sabrina to talk about this, but the decision to make the video was my own.
A little note here, first red flag, being personal friends with Sabrina. Now, this doesn't completely discredit all of Nick's arguments, but it should be made clear that he is emotionally invested in Sabrina's side, and he may do things or make arguments that would benefit her, even if they don't accurately represent the situation. So be on red alert, okay?
Besides the fact that Sabrina doesn't use Gus's name throughout her original video, and her relationship with him was only a small but necessary part of the video,
this does not matter because, once again, she went out of her way to name him later on by liking tweets in reference to him, which spread a lot of falsehoods. Nick conveniently does not mention this.
She had nothing to gain by speaking out about the horrible way that he treated her throughout this relationship. Through all of this, Sabrina has not gained subscribers and has been harassed endlessly for speaking out about her own experience.
In October of 2021, the same month her video came out, she gained 10,000 subscribers. So, again, that's not true.
If Sabrina was blatantly lying about Gus and her statements were inflammatory and aimed to mischaracterize him, why would he release 2 apologies validating Sabrina's feelings only to come back 6 months later and act like he has been misunderstood the whole time?
Well, the point is that she did experience some real pain, and Gus did contribute to that, which is why he apologized. His complaint is mostly in the way she went about it in the Wubby stream, allowing blatant falsehoods to spread and making explicit moves to hurt his career.
And then within about an hour of that, she tweeted out, "That's showbiz, baby." With an exclamation point on there.
Not only does this and so many of Gus's complaints boil down to, oh man, she was being so mean to me, but the tweet had nothing to do with the tour.
Remember when I talked about that whole red flag, conflict of interest, knowing Sabrina, right? Well, the way that Nick states Sabrina's intentions as fact here is very insane. Like, you don't really know that, Nick. That's just what she told you. Now, you can obviously speculate on people's intentions. I've done that in this video. But at the very least, I'd like to see some reasoning behind the way you think that. I justified Sabrina's intentions being revenge rather than speak about her traumatic medical experience with her actions. I justified it with what she did. Nick justifies his position with, well, Sabrina said so. In reference to Gus saying he wants the situation to be over, Nick says,
he says that he has no interest in a public back and forth and pretends that he just wants this whole thing to be behind him, even though he joined the stream of a creator who has proven himself to be extremely biased and only has bad intentions towards Sabrina and her story. Gus continually paints himself as if he's going through hell for experiencing the results of his own actions.
This is just straight up bad faith. Paymoney Wubby at multiple points in his stream expressed a lot of sympathy for Sabrina, and he even told people not to go attack her. His main take seems to be that he thinks the situation never needed to be made public. Now, if Nick thought he was lying, I think he should have posted evidence to the contrary, considering that Wubby never called her a horrible person or a liar or whatever. He was just like, let's talk about Gus. Let's talk about the situation. I think it was overblown. But let's talk about Gus's intentions, which Nick also questions. I find it ironic that Nick will, on one hand, say Gus is lying about wanting to move on because he called into Wubby's stream, but when Sabrina says she wants to move on, despite everything she did after the video's release, she is somehow actually wanting to move on. Right. That makes sense. Obviously, I'm dumb. And you can tell how emotionally invested Nick was because he went out of his way to thank people who covered it in a favorable light to Sabrina and his perspective. It's not just that the arguments from these videos are bad, but the blatant disregard for whatever the truth may be, the undying trust of Sabrina, and the fact none of these people discussed how her video was clearly made with a result in mind is very frustrating. Thankfully, Nick is not green, has been on a sort of redemption arc lately, and I don't want to hold this video against him to this day. You know, he seems to genuinely realize the error of his ways.
I was pretty reckless with the things that I said and the things I posted, and for a long time it was really hard for me to face that criticism.
Why does my son Nick is not green look like Captain Jack Sparrow?
So then why am I even talking about these old videos? Like, why is this being brought up? I mean, the situation happened years ago, right? Well, yes, it did, but the conversation around it at the time was overwhelmingly against Gus. Jimmy Robbins' videos from the time collectively add up to around 200,000 views. Nick's deleted video from the time had around 1 million. The interview with Wubby has 27,000 views on an archive channel, and Sabrina's video about Gus has 1 million views. And if you check the comment section on that Wubby video, the top comment reads, "It's insane to think most people who still hate Gus have never heard this interview. A year and a half later, and I'm just now stumbling on this? Why did nobody talk about this when it happened?" The reason why is because the people with a big platform
motherfucker
emotionally invested in Sabrina being right, and they were unwilling to acknowledge anything she could have done wrong. If the only take that people had was Gus is a boyfriend and I don't want to watch him anymore, I think that's dumb, but that's kind of like the end of the argument, right? Like, there's not much I can really say to convince anyone. But with everything else that I've shown, I think it's clear how this needed to be talked about more. This stuff has been buried, and to this day, there are people who think Sabrina's intentions were pure or that Gus shouldn't even have a career. When Nick was called out for his coverage of Super Mega, people on his subreddit maintained that his video did not misrepresent the situation. If after everything I've just shown in this video, you're still not convinced of otherwise, then there's not much more I can say.
But I do think you're an ingrate.
Me making this video is not to push the idea that Gus Johnson did nothing wrong, because that's not true. He did do wrong things. He did something wrong. He admitted that himself. He was a very bad boyfriend. What he didn't do is abuse someone, okay? It's not unforgivable, and frankly, you and I shouldn't even know about this relationship. What Gus did is be a very bad boyfriend during a difficult time when he was young. For that, he had personal relationship details spilled out for the entire internet to know about. He lost a bunch of subscribers, he lost connections, he lost friends, and it was all against his will. And that doesn't really sit right with me. Is this video going to fix everything? No, and honestly, I don't care that much if it does, but the truth of the matter should be out there. And at the very least, people should have access to all of the facts to work with before they come to a conclusion. Something no one has done up until now. I'm not saying that to slight Jimmy Robbins. His coverage was great. He was just following the story as it happened, so he ended up making 3 different videos.
Son of a fucking bitch, bro.
I mean, he was a much smaller creator.
Holy shit.
Now, so not as many eyes were on the situation. So that's everything. That's all of it. What do you think? Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. But before I go, this video is sponsored by Fabulous. I'm just kidding. It's not sponsored by Fabulous. Bye.
What the hell's going on out there? I fucked myself and I am now stuck. There and punish him. Alright, I think I'm gonna end stream for now. I wanted to watch all the boogie stuff and all that, back when my internet was still fucking working. I wanted to watch all the boogie stuff back when my internet was working and then it crapped out. The boogie stuff is old news now. Basically, faked having cancer. Keemstar is just torturing the ever-loving shit out of him in order to, like, make him pay for it, but Keemstar's just using it as an excuse to keep Boogie on for, like, almost free labor. He owns, like, all of Boogie's shares of LolCow now, so even if Boogie stays on LolCow, he has literally no say in how it runs now. Other drama, Chris Tyson got caught messaging kids. There's now been some dispute as to how bad these messages are. They seem a little creepy, but there's nothing explicitly sexual. Everything that was saved or shown is like weird, degenerate. It could be interpreted as two ways. It could be interpreted as Chris trying to groom this child, and then the other way to interpret it is that Chris is just an actually enormous dipshit and doesn't understand that you can be friends with people that are younger than you, like way younger. Chris was like 24 and the kid was like 10. You can be friends with people that are younger than you, but you cannot talk to them. Like, you can't give them sexual nicknames. Like, kept calling this kid daddy. Again, could be a meta meme about making fun of gay people. Could be a meta meme about how, I don't know, fucking Chris is trans and it's funny that he's fucking around with a kid. I don't know. Could be meta memes. It's extremely creepy. His whole fucking, his whole internet career is over. He came out with a statement that was like super PR based. I didn't like it just because it read like some PR firm had written it, like handwritten it for him, and then he was stupid and decided to comment under it and under a bunch of people's posts saying, to be clear, I didn't groom anyone. To be clear, no sexual stuff happened. That's all lies and bullshit. So that happened. He's currently stepping away from Mr. Beast. Don't know if that was pressure from Mr. Beast or if like Chris just decided to do that for the good of his friend. Those happened. Joe Biden dropped out of the fucking presidential race. Kamala Harris is gonna probably be the new candidate. Not for certain yet until the delegates go to the convention, to the DNC convention, but it's almost all but certain. I want Trump to win, but the current ratings between the two groups are like way too far. If anyone tells you that like if anyone tells you that the election is gonna go one way or the other, they're full of shit. It's so fucking close. It's like a one. Like in some polls, Harris is up by like 2 points. In some polls, Trump is up by 2 points, and then in like the average, as of a few days, as of like a day or two ago, is Trump is up by like 1.6. So nothing. There's like no room for fucking around or error here. Is that all the drama? Oh, the Chris Tyson thing. So everyone was focusing on Chris Tyson because he was messaging this kid, but then the base commentary YouTubers brought up that the big scandal isn't that he messaged the kid in a weird way. The big scandal is that he had art of Shadman in his house and was directly supportive of Shadman, and that's the actual key. Unfortunately, the backlash from that refocus, while accurate, the backlash for that refocus has been like anyone at any point who has ever shown any inkling of support for Shadman is now getting like super looked at. There are a bunch of posts flying around on Twitter and the Reddits and YouTube of people that have ever commissioned art from Shadman. There's a bunch of posts on. Oh, fuck. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it, you little shit. Leave me alone. Grace. Yeah, it's just a shit show. Hopefully everyone knows who Shadman is. Oh, bro, I didn't know you could attack through the fucking door. Oh my god. So, I'm gonna end stream just because I'm stuck right now and I don't want to frustrate y'all as I'm stuck as fuck. I need to get to a side of grace and level up a whole bunch. We'll probably get into more drama, whatever tickles my fancy. Maybe we'll watch the actual videos on Chris Tyson. I'm not sure yet. Maybe we'll watch those just because, like, what I just said is the long and short of it. The only reason we would watch those videos is for the evidence. And again, I've said on Twitter that this dude's a freak. He's a weirdo. My personal read of the situation is that he was being inappropriate with a kid. I don't think that. I think that making jokes is fine. Calling a kid daddy is super fucking weird. I've got a lot of little cousins and a little brother. I would never in a billion fucking years ever dream of calling any of them daddy. That's super fucking weird. But to be 100% fair, it could be a joke. Probably is a joke. I don't like that fucking. I don't think that joke's funny, but it could be a joke. But my stance overall is that he was being weird. Kidding. The Shadman stuff, not gonna lie, back in the day, Shadman was drawing a lot of fucked up stuff, a lot of fucked up loli and gore and whatnot. The internet itself kind of got swept up in this big free speech argument as to whether or not Shadman should be allowed to draw. So all the people on the lists that are son of a fucking bitch. The people on the lists that are marked for being Shadman supporters, I don't think they are explicitly supportive of the loli or of the gore or of the CP. I think they were swept up in this idea that you had to support Shadman or you were anti-free speech. Plus, a lot of those people on the list were Shadman's friends, so of course they were going to defend him. I think the most interesting name on that list is Anissa, iDubbbz' wife. I would love to see more of. I'd love to see her catch flack for it, especially after her and iDubbbz have been so how would you say? there's a word for it, but I can't say it. Moral frogging. Like, they've been very up in everyone else's ass about being moral on the internet. Meanwhile, these guys, or this guy's wife, is like liking a CP artist. I'd love to see her catch more flack for that. Yes. Oh my God, that's another thing. Sneeko and Neon and Aiden Ross, all these dumb fucks, they come out and they're shitting on everyone for not knowing, for like not responding immediately to the Chris Tyson stuff. Like, oh, Chris Tyson had way more evidence on him than Dr. Disrespect and blah 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 blah. Okay, that is straight up bullshit. We have two conversations with two minors, one of which at the very beginning of the drama came out and said that the person who got him to talk was giving him false pretenses in order to get him to talk. That's number one. That's one reason why you probably shouldn't comment right off the rip. Number two, the second kid came out of fucking nowhere a day or two after all this shit went off. Expecting Pokimane or Moist or any of the other big streamers to come out and say something is retarded when literally none of them know what's going on. Like, they've all got their own shit going on that they're focused on. They're like, oh, but they commented immediately about Dr. Disrespect. Dr. Disrespect got banned almost a year, oh shit, how long ago was it? It's been years now. Dr. Disrespect has been banned for years, and we've never known why. But what we do know is he got banned. And then the person that came out was a Twitch Trust and Safety employee. And by the way, they didn't say, oh, the door's open now. They didn't say something as that employee came out, or as that employee said something. They said something a day or two after that employee said something. So painting it as though they immediately came out and shat on Dr. Disrespect versus they waited and waited and waited for Chris is stupid, it's inaccurate, it's dumb. I wouldn't really expect much else from Sneeko or Neon or Aiden. All these people are really fucking dumb. They're all really fucking stupid. This thing is freaking me out. Get out of my face. I don't even know what else to say. I mean, it was just all really fucking... It's all just really dumb. I think the thing that we've gotten cheated out of so far is a real comprehensive look at what has happened because of all the moral frogging that people like Sneeko and people like all these other creators are doing. Because of their behavior, we have kind of lost the ability to really look at this situation. I mean, Chris has already come out and taken the bullet. Like, it's already over, pretty much. Chris has apologized, which is like, basically means like immediately you're guilty on the internet. Like, the moment you apologize, it's all over, no matter the situation. I think the one person that I'm waiting to hear from, the one that I think would be the most interesting to hear from, is going to be Mr. Beast, because Mr. Beast defended Chris in the past. That person is who I'm really waiting to. Everyone else, I super don't fuck about. I don't care about Pokimane's stance on it. I don't care about Moist Critical stance on it. I think the only reason that Sneeko and Aiden and Neon are pointing out that these people have said anything is because they like Dr. Disrespect, or they view Dr. Disrespect as like a conservative character, and they view Chris Tyson as a lefty character, and so they have to, like, for some reason, defend Dr. Disrespect, who is messaging a minor inappropriately to the point where he gets banned on Twitch. It's just all really, 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 really fucking stupid. Yeah, I wish they would just shut the fuck up. They're adding like literally nothing productive to the conversation, and I think they're only saying shit in order to get attention. Nico, 100% is only saying shit to get attention. The other two guys, I don't know. I mean, Aiden Ross is just it's just retarded. Aiden Ross is just straight up. If you like Aiden Ross, please don't come near my fucking channel. Please don't come near my Twitter. You are literally like so brain dead. You might give me mental herpes. Come near me. You are probably some like Ritalin addicted. You know, watching TikTok while you're playing video games. Like you can't sit still for more than 3 seconds. 2-year-old brained, like dribbling dumb fuck. Please do not come near me. I think that's gonna about do it. I want to see if this Omen has the main reason I came to this spot, to this place here, is because I wanted the Erd Tree seal because of its scaling with Faith, but I can't remember how I got it on my main character, so I'm trying to see if this Omen killer has it. I don't think he does. Fuck, I think it's on that dead guy right there. But yeah, my wife showed me a meme that said, like, Nico's a PDF file. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but with how hard he goes after PDF files, I wouldn't be surprised if it's protection. Sneeko said something dumb about JD Vance, and my immediate reaction was like, bro, JD Vance didn't let anyone sleep with his wife, like, not even once. Transgenderism is a mental illness. People don't have to accept this. What he said. I mean, he's just wrong about the people won't accept it as normal. It's already normal. You're literally abnormal shit on trans people. Agree or disagree with that? I mean, he's literally incorrect. Oh, he's saying normal people will find it. Yes. Majority of the world is abnormal now. And I just don't think Sneeko says anything insightful. I think he's literally just right-wing brain rot at this point. And it sucks because he was cool when he was like sucking up to Destiny and trying to become like Destiny new little apprentice or whatever. Sith apprentice. Got Andrew Tate build. I'm retarded. Many such cases. We got the Erd trees. Curious to see. Actually, I don't have enough faith. What the fuck is my faith at? Oh, I'm 3 levels off. Go change. Yeah, I don't know. Not a fan of Sneeko. I think he's doing it right now. Yeah, because he's got nothing better to do because he got banned on everything. He's only on fucking Rumble now. Stop being Biden there. Because they're not retarded like Sneeko. They don't comment on things immediately, and these people actually have a lot to lose compared to Sneeko. they've learned very well that talking immediately about something is a bad thing. That's why people don't talk about it. But that's why these creators don't talk about it. Yeah, well, that's just true. I wonder if we can kill that dragonless. I think my favorite video on Sneeko is the fucking... So good. Has him like dead to rights on everything. I don't think he ever mentally recovered from it. So this seal sucks right now. See if we can kill this. Scarlet Rod. And then cool, free rune. Not. I gotta do a bunch of off-screen left. I shouldn't have done this. Oh, I'm about to die. Yep, that was stupid. That was dumb. I shouldn't have done that. Oh yeah, I got into a fight with Flamenco today. By get into a fight, I mean like he said something stupid on Twitter. Or no, he said something benign actually. He said something that was like totally normal, and I commented something like, "Hey, aren't you the guy that Turkey Tom and Nicholas Diorio nuked in orbit?" And he responds with like, "Nicholas Diorio defended a PD file." Hey, bro, what are you talking about? It's just crazy that one of the biggest names in like commentary showed like I'm nobody right now. I am not a single. I have like, what the fuck? How the hell did that count? I have like no followers. I have no presence on Twitch or on Kick or on where else am I? On Twitch, Kick, or YouTube. And even though I have no presence whatsoever, for some reason, instead of just muting me, Flamenco like engages. We had like a back and forth for like 15-20 minutes. It was just, to me, I don't know how Flamenco feels about it. I don't really care how Flamenco. Is that he got fucking mogged on by Turkey whole commentary community. This is gonna kill me. Fuck me. What's up, wife? You have to show me. Wife is showing me. Oh, this is a. Oh, I commented on this one. It's a tweet where a woman says, "Don't call my husband sweetheart," and I think my comment was something along the line. If you think that this woman was flirting with your husband, or I said something like, "You need to be banned from like all restaurants forever." Like, you thinking that this woman was flirting with your husband is the same as like cringe incels thinking the barista is flirting with them because she said hello. It was just dumb, bro. Like, insecure but valid. What the fuck? These people are all fucking northerners, bro. They have to be. What do you mean insecure but valid? Those have to be bots. Those have to be bots. It can't be such that these people legitimately think that woman was in the right. There's no way. Bacon, get away from the blinds. Hey! Hey!
Bacon.
Get away from the blinds! Get away from the blinds. Oof. The dog is trying to explode. I just need a big giant of like cast iron right there. Hmm? What the? That person's cringe. True. he was standing on. You know what? Fair.
Are not
True. Whoever said that is based.
I said.
Oh, you said that? I mean, you're right. Service workers are not flirting with you. I just don't. I don't get what the fuck made putting that was acceptable. Woman's trying to like earn a trying to earn for a living. Think that she's flirting with your husband. Like actually cringe. Not gonna fuck you, bro.
I want. I don't have.
Bless you, Mom. Oh, bro. Motherfucker, I ran out of fucking Estes. Hold on, Grail. This is not over. Shit. Oh, bro, fuck you. Alright, we're gonna do a bunch of off-screen farming. Alright, big love you all. Thank you all to Ed showing up and everyone else who stopped by. If you like this content, please hit follow. I'll be streaming tomorrow.